Oh, yeah, okay.
Good morning.
That long, okay.
I'll call the Cook County Board of Commissioners regular meeting to order on this Tuesday, July 14th at 8:31. We begin our meeting with the pledge. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I have one adjustment, and that is that Kyle Strover from the DNR is able to stop in this morning. We don't know what time. He's obviously very busy right now with the forest fires, but kindly offered to stop in and provide an update to the board.
Okay, thank you. We'll work him in whenever, and you can recognize him, so we'll know.
Yeah.
Then a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. At this time, we do take a few minutes for public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come up? Doesn't look like we do have anybody here in the room, but have the commissioners received any comments? No. Okay, very good. Moving on to the consent agenda, which is a motion to approve as whole. In the consent agenda, the items are claims. We have minutes from the June 23rd meeting, a final request, CR 24 for the Tofte Park improvement, approved commencement of Tofte and Grand Marais transfer stations, 2026 U.S. Forest Service grant, a donation for search and rescue, CCIT brewery event donation. Would anyone like to pull anything? Okay, Commissioner Sullivan.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to move on to North Shore Roadway Network Resilience Study.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I just wanted to take a chance to introduce two people to you that you're going to hear a lot from today. If you're not familiar what this is, kind of like it says, a roadway network resiliency study. The number of times we've talked about redundancy in this county, what happens if Highway 61 blows out. This is exactly what this study is. And so it's a great partnership between several counties along the North Shore, MnDOT, and a few other entities as well. But I'll let Erica and Joe introduce themselves.
Thanks, Robbie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Shepard, and I am a transportation planner with MnDOT District 1 based out of Duluth.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joe DeVore. I'm with KLJ Engineering, the project manager for the consultant team on this project. And Jana, did we have the PowerPoint up? Perfect.
Great. Well, I'll kick us off, and then I'll let Joe kind of get into more of the details. But as Robbie mentioned, this study has been kind of years in the making. As you all are well aware, there are no official identified alternate routes to Highway 61, which can really cause some major issues in the event of a Highway 61 closure. The Arrowhead Regional Development Commission is also a partner. They were originally the ones who kicked off the study, so we're glad that they're still involved and a good partner in kind of helping keep this study moving. The study is really extremely multifaceted. It's part emergency management driven, part climate resilience driven. We're looking at Highway 61 itself, and we're also looking at the alternate routes. So that's also looking at some of the local Forest Service roads, township roads, city roads, things like that. So it's a lot to kind of wrap your head around. the study area itself is on the screen here. It's 125 miles long, and we're kind of looking in that light orange crescent shape. That's kind of the portions of Lake and Cook counties that we're looking at the alternate routes in, so not the full counties, but basically it's looking from two harbors all the way to the Canadian border. And to better organize that large of a study area, we've divided the study area into 10 overall segments and 140 sub-segments that follow roadway breaks and mile markers. And generally speaking, we're in the middle of the data collection phase. So we're looking kind of at existing conditions, doing some data collection, and then kind of identifying local concerns and vulnerabilities. In the fall, we'll move into some detour analysis, kind of evaluating some of the alternate routes that we're identifying. That's kind of looking at both the regional and the local detour distinction, so some sort of like large-scale rerouting as well as some community-level access and circulation. And then also obviously looking at practical feasibility, like seasonality, when detours work, depending what time of year it is. And then in this winter, we'll be kind of moving into concept development, reviewing some of those vulnerabilities and identifying some recommended improvements that we can make. And then the end goal in the spring, we'll be wrapping up with some closure action plans. So that's kind of certain segments of the whole corridor will have some detour strategies, looking at options both in terms of like the length time-wise and lengthwise, what those kinds of detours make most sense for what the closure situation is, and then the investment prioritization and recommended improvements. So kind of at the end of this, we're hoping that the takeaway will be that we can identify what the most vulnerable areas are, what the recommended improvements are, and basically we're hoping that our local, federal, and tribal partners are able to leverage this study to apply for grant funding to make those improvements. So some of the project goals, I don't want to read all of them. You can all read them on the screen there, kind of what I was kind of already outlined. But basically, evaluating the existing and future conditions of the whole corridor, identifying those alternate routes, developing those recommendations, and of course, engaging with partners, stakeholders, and the public to build a shared vision throughout the whole project process. So with that, I'll hand it off to Joe to get into some more of the specifics.
Thanks, Erica. So as we came into this study, we had some examples. We didn't expect to get examples all from this year of different ways that 61 could be closed as we started the project. But we saw some examples that are going to be happening this year. A blizzard closed Highway 61 in February when you guys saw 18 plus inches of snowfall. When we start looking at alternate routes during a blizzard, there really aren't any because 61 is usually that first roadway that's plowed off. But as we start looking at a wildfire, the Stewart Trail fire back in May, this was a 4.5-day closure of 61 between Two Harbors and Silver Bay, which really threw into kind of a highlight why this study was so needed. Right away, a shorter route was open. That was the shortest detour route. Lake County had issues with that county road right off the bat with just not great conditions on the roadway. So then we did have an official published detour that was a much longer route, but was on paved roads the entire way. And we got a lot better feedback from freight that was using that road versus trying to use a underdeveloped county roadway. So that's the exact issue we're coming to the county board with today. And then later this summer, we are looking at a 12-day detour in Hovland for some culvert replacements. This is going to be a much shorter detour route on just that little triangle segment around Hovland. So it'll be much less of an impact, but still a good example of when 61 needs to be closed for just routine maintenance on MnDOT's system. So as we start looking at that example for the Stewart Trail Fire, we did have that official published detour going back to County Road 2 and then back down into Two Harbors. That was the 56-minute detour that can be seen in the middle. However, those shorter routes, traffic's going to want to take that. They want to take the shortest route that they can get from point A to point B. We face this all the time in road planning where unless there's reasons why, traffic will find that shortest route. So what we want to look at with the county system in Cook County is identifying where those shortest routes are and if they can be improved to kind of match that shortest route for a detour route while taking into account an evacuation area. So with the Stewart fires, there was a pretty big evacuation area where if we had a detour route routed through there, that creates issues too, because now our detour route is being detoured. And so we have to take all of that into account as we're starting to put together these closure action plans, just accounting for all of the different layers on top of this EMS response. So as we start getting into what we're doing with our data collection, we're looking at several aspects of data into this study. The first is roadway asset data along these potential detour routes. So you can see from the map, we have kind of our full project area and a lot of paved and gravel roadways that we're collecting this data on. And what we're looking for is roadway condition. So for gravel roadways, we're looking at the solidity of that gravel, how wide that roadway width is. That came up as a big issue as we started identifying what routes could be used as two-way traffic for freight and what routes could only be used as one-way for a detour. Line markings, being able to see at night during these detour routes is an important aspect, and then traffic signs directing traffic to 61 at the end of those detour routes, having good signage where cell phone service could be spotty throughout all these detour routes off of the 61. So as we also look at risk factors for closing 61, culverts came up as a big issue where if a culvert washes out, it can wash out a section of roadway, and then that replacement of that culvert would take weeks to then get 61 back up. So we really wanted to look at some of the culverts along 61. We have very good data for that, but we didn't have the best of data on the county road systems and local systems especially. So we did a culvert inventory to kind of complete the missing aspects of our kind of culvert database, both for 61 and a lot of those local routes in our detour route system. And so this summer we are going through, we're looking at the condition of those missing culverts, any road settlement along the routes, erosion from those culverts where they might be in poor condition and need to be replaced, and then any plugged or obstructed culverts that could create a washout as well. So as we start taking in all of these elements of data, we're looking at the dams, culvert, and bridge information, understanding life cycles with those, when those would need to be replaced, if any are in poor or fair condition. Coming up, coastal erosion has been a big one where there's lakeshore coast regression towards Highway 61, and in some instances it's within 50 feet of the MnDOT right-of-way. So looking at a potential linear trend of when that could be an issue, are there alignments that might get us out of that range for the near future? Landslide risk, especially around some of the tunnels and cliff areas where we've seen rock slides in the past. Wildfire risk, which I went into detail on, and then crash risk. If there's a fatal crash on 61, that scene can be closed down for hours to a day. The State Patrol needs that kind of daily detour route around that area, and being able to understand where that area is important. As we start looking at these detour analysis routes, it's going to increase travel time. It's going to increase to that Highway 61 detour volume, which in some cases is 50 times more traffic than these county roadways or local roadways see, which if that detour is 3 days to 7 days, that's a year's worth of wear on that roadway just from that 61 traffic in a couple of days. Distance to trauma centers and EMS response. This has been a big portion of our study, is just looking at where those are in Grand Marais and Duluth, and then Two Harbors does also have the hospital there. Being able to get to and from those with a 61 detour, and then looking at some intelligent transportation systems as well to guide traffic during these detour routes. So for Cook County, there's several gap areas that we've already identified where some of those detour routes could add 30 plus minutes of detour if a certain segment in those areas are closed. There's even some segments where there's a gap today. So if 61 has an issue in that gap between County Road 69 and 17, or up in Grand Portage Reservation between Grand Portage and the border, there isn't a good detour route existing that you can actually take to get around that closure. So 61 could be closed for days as a temporary shoulder is made or some emergency gap is filled there. So we are looking at analyzing these routes in detail once we have all that data collected. Just some top names in Cook County of some of those detour routes. The grade is that US Forest Service Road that the county has been bulking up in recent years. Down near Tofte and Schroeder, 600 Road is used a lot, but again, isn't in the best of condition. A lot of those tan roads or kind of orangish roads, those are all gravel roads of varying width. The lighter they get, the narrower those roadways are. So just looking at kind of a zoomed in area of a couple of areas, Tofte, Schroeder. Some of these detours are ranging from 10 minutes, where that's a little bit easier to digest as a detour route, but a lot of these routes are 30 minutes to 60 minutes if we are detouring around certain segments and utilizing those routes. Another example around Grand Marais, County Road 7's only a 2-minute detour. However, as you start getting out into some of those other segments, we're seeing 10 to 15 minutes to the west of Grand Marais, taking Ward Lake Road or Pike Lake Road. That's adding a half an hour on the west side as you come out of Grand Marais, just due to the length of those detour routes around Cascade River State Park. So kind of looking forward and looking back, we have met with a lot of focus group meetings back in April. Emergency management really looking at responding to forest fires, where they're utilizing detour routes today. The multimodal business and tourism aspect of closures, being able to wayfind back to popular destinations along the corridors. The environmental risk factors of potential closures along 61, and then getting an idea of border crossings. We had a meeting with the province up in Canada to really discuss, are there alternate border crossings if something happens to that bridge? The feedback we heard from them is they've really provided a lot of resiliency in that border crossing in Grand Portage, because the nearest one is over in International Falls. So they really expect that bridge to be maintained. They have the width available to maintain it under traffic and really keep that as a critical link as well. As we start looking into the summer of 2026, we're really reaching out to all the boards, Cook County and Lake County today, as well as a lot of the town boards and councils along the corridor, just to get input on what are we missing with this study, what haven't we considered, and be able to kind of change our scope to match some of the deliverables that Cook County is also looking for. We're also getting input from the public. This last weekend, we were at Bay Days down in Silver Bay. We are trying to get on the Rendezvous Days up in Grand Portage in August, just to get some input from kind of the tip of Minnesota there, where we've had a couple of meetings with the tribe as well. So our next steps, as Erica laid out, we have a lot of data analysis this fall and detour screening to get to those closure action plans. Really looking for board feedback on how often you want updates, what input you want to provide through this process, understanding that we're trying to get those closure action plans by next summer. And then lastly, what other risk factors, have we missed? Really, this is a time for the board to give us feedback, ask us questions with this study, and we'd be happy to answer them. So with that, any questions from the board?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. One of the areas in Cook County are 4 townships, and they're in the west end. Lutsen does not maintain any roads, but Schroeder and Tofte do, and you'll be at Schroeder tonight. So we'll hear the repeat again tonight, but I think it's concerning because of their limited budgets too. So hopefully in the future, if you decide that Sugarloaf has to be widened or another little road has to be widened or maintained better, that they'll have help with that.
Yeah, I think that's a big part, is understanding what those detour routes are, what the best ones are, understanding what needs to be bulked up on them to handle two-way traffic, and then identifying grants, both federally and through the state, that could help with those costs. Because yes, the townships don't have the budgets to convert a gravel road to a paved road for 20 miles.
Unlike the county, right?
That's great. Or the county even, yes. Robbie has given us great feedback with that throughout the study.
But the point you bring up, Commissioner Storley, is very true, and it's one that, my counterpart in Lake County and I have brought up, is that's great for a plan. Now what? Like, we can sit here and make these plans, and that road AI tool that you saw with the colored line, I need to spend more time with it, but it's fascinating. But to the point, yeah, so great, we need to upgrade Sugarloaf, or you saw Murmur Creek on there, or name any other one. Well, cool, at the end of the day, we need money to do that. And so I think what this does, though, is gives us a plan and a direction, and then also to say, hello, federal government or state, whatever. We did this huge planning effort. We've identified these roads for, that are important to us, and we already have 3 instances this year that showed what happens when 61 closes. So it's not like some crazy what if, it's happening. We know it happens. But it gives us a tool to say, this is why we need money.
Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One thing I noticed on the map that was right before your engagement schedule is it didn't identify one of what I understand to be an evacuation route or an alternate route, and it would be from the east end of Devil Track Lake to the Gunflint Trail, and it doesn't identify Pine Mountain Road, which is a U.S. Forest Service road. I think Kyle can confirm that, but.
And that's, as we collect data and we're going through this, like what you saw is just what's been done to date. And so it's definitely a process that, even I can stare at that map and, Ward Lake Road got brought up. You and I both know, Jenny, I'm sure you're aware, like that's not a road. That's a glorified 4-wheeler trail. So, and so there's things like that we have to go through and tweak, but it kind of illustrates the point too of just how massive this is. You saw it's 120 whatever miles of Highway 61 on top of, how far inland are we going, and now catalog every single route that is through there and then assess, can you take it or not? And then the other hard thing too is define what line do we want to draw to say, yes, that's a detour, no, that's not. Because if we get too specific, well, boy, we're gonna have no detours. And so then you're gonna go, okay, well, let's dial it back. Can we technically use Sugarloaf? Yes. Can you technically use Murmur Creek? Yes. Are they great? No. But, you know, Pine Mountain is one of those where at least that's one that actually is kind of built, and could get added to that for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Big process.
Thank
Good
you.
point, though.
Representative Administrator Treble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned collecting community input, and we do have an event coming up in a few weekends, Fisherman's Picnic, and we'll have a county booth. So if there's some information that we can share during that event, I don't know if you're collecting, if you have a survey tool that you're, perfect. So we would be willing to share that, and Jana would be your contact for that.
Yes, we will certainly send some materials along for you guys to have at the booth.
Great, thank you. Thank you for offering that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gamble.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, this is a topic that continues, and it's good to be proactive to anticipate and to try to figure out so we're not reactive. The question I would have for you, Joe, is if you've worked on similar projects in different regions.
I have. So we did a Trunk Highway 61 corridor study in Two Harbors back a couple years ago, and we had been working with the city of Two Harbors just to identify kind of that shorter detour route around their city because 61 was closed down to one lane in one direction. And so for southbound traffic, the shortest route was routing people through a neighborhood. And, you know, it's a residential neighborhood. Houses are, 50 feet set back from the road. No one wants 61 traffic that close to their front yards. And so we did a pretty extensive detour planning of trying to find another county route that shifted traffic away from that residential neighborhood. We ended up finding a route where we replaced maybe 100 to 200 feet of pavement, and that created a shorter connection. So I've done a lot of these origin destination studies where we're trying to put traffic volume demand to these different destinations, to these different sections of 61, and understanding, well, if you have a detour route and all of your traffic's going to Finland instead, or some other location, how do we get a detour route that's shorter to Finland than back to 61 if traffic's not going there? So there's a lot of different elements of this that kind of work into that origin destination aspect of this study. Just the recreational peaks that Grand Marais and the surrounding communities see during the summer. Just being able to access Grand Marais from all of those fingers coming out into the different lake areas is going to be important. And if there's a construction project that's severing off half of those, the detour route has to incorporate all of those different fingers going out. And that's the hardest thing, is 61's that only main regional connection with just a whole lot of fingers coming out.
As a follow-up, Madam Chair, when you take a look at your options, and in your presentation you mentioned that the improvements to be made, that are recommendations and the resources required in order to make those improvements. And take example, when a road that is a gravel road that sees more traffic than it normally would see, considerable traffic, and that means that, Robbie and his department has to work on that. There is no, and maybe Erica can answer this, there's no funding that is set aside that reimburses when something takes place that is unanticipated. In the federal line of things, when there's an event that qualifies as a disaster, then there's availability because it falls into that threshold and you can receive funding. But I guess the question to Erica is, does MnDOT provide a pool of dollars that are there to compensate when we find that we have those additional expenses? And part of that question is also the question on the recommended improvements and the costs associated. And you reference it's getting grant money and things like that. So as commissioners, we're looking at something that is thoughtfully considered and proposed, and then, if that informed process presents something that makes sense, how do we pay for it? So.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I think that's an excellent point. I think that's one of the things we're hoping to look at. I think this is something we've kind of talked about. I don't know if it's an official approach, but we've talked about if there's maybe up from the state funding perspective, if there's enough recommendations or things that rise to the top as necessary improvements, that might be something MnDOT would be willing to go to the legislature and ask for funding for that. That's I'm not committing to that right now, but that has been something we've talked about as like Robbie mentioned, this is happening right now, and it's in MnDOT's best interest to have redundancy. So I think right now, I don't think there's a established funding pool that's tied to this study necessarily, but I'm not saying that there couldn't be. I think that's something that we would consider as part of the implementation plan and looking at how to actually make the improvements happen and not just have this be a study that sits on the shelf. So I think that's an excellent point. We're not trying to just offload all of this on to be a local funding issue, but I will say that's something that has been tossed around as an idea to potentially kind of include that as one of MnDOT's requests to the state legislature.
And part of the study, that's a big component to
Right.
being able to do what you've spent and invested all this time in.
Yeah.
And so setting up some kind of criteria that would allow access to those funds when it's realized that the burden can't be borne locally. And so that's just a big component. And there's a lot of enterprise that takes place with thinking of things to do, but the money source is a big issue. So I appreciate the investment of energy and thought that goes into this process, because it's something, like I say, we need to be proactive, but we need to be empathetic to who bears the burden.
I think you made a great point there, Commissioner, is being able to understand what the thresholds are for federal disaster funding, and then where is that gap where maybe we identify that there's a state portion if a certain type of disaster or closure or something affecting state roadways is affecting, the counties, how the legislature could potentially cover that. We're really looking at all options with this study, and I think there's a way to tie that need in addition to just trying to fund roadway improvements.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, putting it on our radar, because it's been in the background for a long time, but thank you for pursuing the study, and we'll look forward to more info.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And thanks to Robbie for all of his help with serving on our project management team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We're going to pause in our agenda right now because we do have a representative from the Forest Service. If you'd like to step up to the microphone, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Kyle.
Morning.
It's been a busy week. I greatly appreciate the invitation to come before the board, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. So I will share the latest of what I know. We did have several representatives, had a call with Sheriff Ben Hallberg last night, as well as several others from the county, as well as Gunflint Trail Volunteer Fire Department. Overall, we're looking at somewhere around 20 plus fires across the Superior National Forest in northeast Minnesota. So I don't think I need to tell you too much about the extreme weather conditions that we're having and the context that we're dealing with. We have less over here because we haven't had the ignitions, but we do have the drought and the dryness. So I will kind of go through and lay out what we have in terms of restrictions out there. I'll go through kind of the incidents and fires we have one by one, and I'll invite, I can either stop for questions or you can follow up at the end, however you may like. So right now, you may have all seen we have forest-wide fire restrictions, and we entered those hand in hand with the state. So anywhere on the Superior National Forest or state lands, no open burning, and you must have a fuel source that you can turn on and off. So that's boundary waters and outside. Starting 12:01 a.m. this morning, we are implementing our boundary waters area closure. So we have canceled all overnight permits through at least Friday, or we'll reevaluate again. But we did this in the effort of public safety and the amount of complexity, limited resources, and the sheer amount of fire we had on the landscape for public safety. So we had crews going in as of yesterday, moving through priority areas, and I just briefed another set of wilderness rangers that are going in by boat, by air, working their way through the lakes and evacuating those routes to the nearest entry points, or clearing those routes, I should say, with the closure, not evacuation, excuse me. So with fires that we have here in Cook County that are on the landscape, there is the sunfish prescribed burn. That is a prescribed burn at this point. As of this morning, when we checked it again, that burn is still within its burn perimeter boundary and footprint. That is a 775-acre prescribed burn that we implemented back in May 28th and 29th for ignitions. And due to the dry weather that we've continued to have, it has continued to put up smoke and in some cases put up flames, and we've been getting a lot of calls about it, as I'm sure you're all aware. And it's burning through the unburned mosaic portion of that burn, especially along the shores of Greenwood Lake, putting up a lot of smoke. So there's been a lot of active heat, especially in the last couple of days with the fire weather that we've had. Yesterday we had a Type 1 helicopter in there doing bucket drops, cooling hot spots along the line. That was successful. We have a sprinkler system implemented on the western boundary of that line along private property and working with those landowners, and that was successful. And we are there daily with engines, watercraft, and having it checked by aerial detection that we have regularly every day at this point. So doing what we can. We are going to still use aircraft, and they've been giving them to us when we need them, when we feel that they need to cool down. But as of today, and it has stayed well within its unit boundary. The other one we have out there is the airport pit fire, or the fire-wise brush disposal site up by the airport. So that was that started July 4th with a human cause undetermined. It is still smoldering. It's a big ash heap at the moment. We're classifying it as 95% containment. We are checking it daily. The brush disposal site is managed by the county. So they've closed that site, and we've followed up with a forest closure order for that same area, just to give our law enforcement officers the same teeth to make sure we keep people out of there. People have been going and continuing past the barricades to put brush in the burn area. So we were visiting that daily. It did have some fire on it yesterday. We ran an engine up there, put water on it, and then we brought up a fire tender from Maple Hill Fire Department. They put a tender's worth of water on it too, doused it down. That will continue to smoke likely till fall, to be honest. So the other one we've had, a smaller one we've had, was the Long 2 fire. This is up by Pine Lake. That started July 2nd. It was about 4 acres. That fire is classified as contained and controlled. We did pull our people off of there to use elsewhere this weekend. They were really successful. We had a crew of 12 altogether, a mix of both Superior National Forest, Chippewa National Forest, and Grand Portage wildfire. So that one is looking good, and we're feeling good with where that is. And I think the big one, I think most folks could imagine we're eagerly watching, is the Canadian FOR 028 fire out of Ontario. So, and that is its official name. what we still know, as of 7 o'clock last night, we had a flight through the area, and it is still in Canada, along Otter Track Lake on the far. It's actually in Lake County, just over the Cook County line, far northwest portions of our district here. I have a firefighter that took off about 10 minutes ago from the Cook County Airport, one of our fire management staff, to go take a look at it himself. And what we're trying to do there is confirm where it is. I know there's a lot of apps out there, and you can satellite detection software and apps. You can take a look at that, show heat in different places, but we really need that on-site, a trained observer to take a look, really confirm for us is where it's at and which side of the border it's on. So, but as of yesterday, it was estimated, there was still a lot of smoke yesterday, but they were looking at around 6,000 acres. So these fires are growing overnight, not nearly as much during the day, but we'll see what I have when I get back, when he gets back and down on the ground and gives me a call. But this fire is more likely than not to cross over to the United States at some point. So when it comes over, we're going to have a more assortment of tools in our disposal to have, because then it will be a federal fire. Will have an instant number. We can start assigning resources. There's going to be a lot of aircraft involved just because of the nature where it's at. That area, looking down south of Otter Track, we're looking at Esther, Hanson Lake, if anyone's all familiar there. It's been a long time since we've had any fire history in there. It's somewhere around the 1890s was probably the last fire history. It is in an area that was affected by the 99 blowdown with balsam fir that it came up underneath. At some point as you move east, if this fire does move east towards the Gunflame Trail, it's going to hit the Cavity Lake burn scar, and that fuel type will change. And that burnt in 2006, for Cavity. So anyways, we're waiting. We're really just looking for that confirmation. When we initially there was an initial watch duty app that there was confusion. Something came over the radio that this crossed over, and it was getting people concerned, excited, and then we had to go take a look out there and made sure we can confirm that. So that's what we're trying to work off of. We got several 911 calls within the last week of looking at that plume from Seagull, or the column from Seagull, and with the how the perspective looks out there, it looks a lot closer, and with the size that it is. So, but we did confirm that there was no fires in the immediate vicinity of Seagull. This was smoke from this Ontario fire. So, with that, the next 48 hours, we're expecting a cold front to come through today. Shift this morning. It's been at west to southwest winds ongoing. We'll have that in the morning, but we will shift to northwest winds starting this afternoon, and this town will become very smoky, including the Gunflame Trail. So I expect my front desk call volumes to go up, and as maybe Cook County Dispatch might experience as well. I would defer to your Public Health Human Services for public health impacts that might have. But what we've been doing, Sheriff Ben Hallberg has been wonderful to work with. We've been in regular contact. We've started doing some meetings last night where we expanded the group with Mike Keyport, Ben Gunflame Trail Volunteer Fire Department, Jim Morrison, a number of others on there. We're going to get a kind of standing meeting going. It's a little different because since this is a Canadian fire without an incident number yet, we're still once it comes over, we'll engage in active suppression, assign a team, and then kind of go through our normal paces that we've trained for with Cook County and what we've done through before. But we do have resources that have come into Grand Marais. We picked up 3 more engines. We're getting a helicopter today. We have asked and advocated for aircraft released from the western side of the forest to come over, and so far so good. We've been getting them, not without having to make ourselves known, but we have been able to get stuff. But overall, that's where, in our conversations with the county and giving our recommendations to the sheriff, they implemented a ready status for the end of the Gunflint Trail and Polygon. So when it comes over to the US, we'll look at, next steps of what that set status looks like in constant contact, and we did talk about some lines in the coming days for where do we get to go for the Ready, Set, Go protocols implemented by the county. So anyways, we're taking this very seriously. I am trying to do my best to be present, and all of our staff, we're out there daily. We're fielding a lot at the moment, but I'm certainly available. We're trying to make our front desks and public information available. There's a lot coming through our Facebook page, news releases and such. So trying to keep that sorted. Our public affairs team are doing their best with all that. But I'll stop there. I apologize for going on as long as I have. Are there any questions I can answer?
Well, we certainly appreciate your update, especially, when you think about the forest, the people fighting it, the people who live in the areas, all the way up through Ely, everything. As a former outfitter, I understand the closures. I understand trying to help the public understand that, no, you can't enter right now, but hopefully in the future, make other plans. So it's a big group of people trying to assist in all of this. Any questions or comments, Administrator Treble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like an opportunity to thank Kyle and his team. They have done an excellent job of communicating with the county, keeping us up to speed. We had a meeting yesterday morning with St. Louis, Lake, and Cook County that was incredibly helpful to receive updates and ask questions. And then, like Kyle mentioned, we had a meeting last night with a broader Cook County team as well. So I just want to thank you for your work in keeping everyone informed, and also want to echo what he shared regarding Sheriff Hallberg and how helpful he has been during this process as well. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to also express my gratitude for the work that Kyle has done and his entire team. I've spent the last few days up the Gunflint Trail trying to calm people, helping them to get prepared, run their sprinklers. And I think the communication has been excellent. That has been echoed by residents up there as well as seasonal people. And again, just gratitude to all the hard work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gamble?
No, go ahead first.
Thank you. Appreciate the update under duress. I have two questions. One is controlled burns. Our highway departments, our departments overall, have long-range plans, and so we put on the calendar what we're going to do based upon an assessment. So when it comes to controlled burns, I imagine that's sort of how it works. And my question is, when we look at a particular season and the weather and the condition of the forest, do we alter our plans based upon that assessment? That's one question. And the other part of the question is, when we're looking at fires and assessing the region that is being affected by a fire, given all the diseased and dead trees, we're more susceptible, and the fire risk is exacerbated by the fact that we've got a lot of dead trees. If you look at the history of the Hinckley fire had a lot of slash that was dead lying on the ground, so it just became a tinder box. So.
No, I appreciate the question. With our prescribed burning program that we've done, we do a NEPA analysis, National Environmental Policy Act projects. You've seen that from us, and those get analyzed by our interdisciplinary team. And when it comes to burn plan writing, a burn plan is written with a set of environmental parameters for the prescription, and it defines, what we tend to use Canadian fire behavior indices here because that matches our field type. So we map out what those conditions are. We do look at drought status and long-term drought status. We did have an incident meteorologist that we brought in specifically for our prescribed burns that we did this year. We did, the ones that we did on the side of the forest were Sunfish up by Greenwood, and then we did another 445 acre one over off the Sawwell Trail. That one went really well. But with our predictive services branch of our interagency fire group, it did not show us going into long-term drought through the summer. That was something that we did not have mapped out to the best, that we were using the best data available. So as things continue to dry out, we do have a remote area weather station up there at Greenwood Lakes to monitor things in real time, and we did continue to see that dry out. And when that fire just kind of sits in that duff or that organic top layer of soil, it can just sit there and smolder, and we just did not get the rains anticipated. So we do build for that. It's not uncommon for a prescribed burn to burn for days, and then we go into monitor. We still continue to monitor it until declared out. But yeah, I will recognize that this one, with just the state of conditions and then putting up the smoke and flames that it is, it's certainly not what we hoped for. But I've been working my way around the lake with a lot of phone calls. I've sat at dining tables and talked about this at length, and understand the community's concern.
Administrator Treble, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few updates as well, but if I can provide those now or during the administrator update. It's up to you.
Later.
Later, okay.
Any other question?
No, not a question. Just want to thank you, Kyle, for coming here and giving the update. It's unusual and really appreciated.
Well, anytime I certainly make myself available. It's not an imposition for me. So
Thank you.
We have a good relationship with Cook County, and we want to keep that going forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the YMCA presentation with information.
I get to control it, okay. Good morning.
Hey, Amanda.
My name's Amanda. If you don't know me already, I'm the Executive Director of the Cook County branch of the YMCA. I've been in that role for about 6 months. Next week will be 6 months, but relatively long-term member of the community. So thanks for the invite to be here. What a busy day, busy week. All right. I won't go into detail on every slide. I'll just try and pull out some highlights. So this is looking at our number of memberships by type, and you'll see that we have units of a membership, and then depending on the unit type, there's going to be more than one human being associated with that member type. So by far, our two biggest categories of membership are Renew Active One Pass and our Silver Sneakers. Those are both insurance subsidized older adult and senior membership categories, and then followed by our Family with Two Adult membership category. We currently have 62 members on financial assistance. We have given out, in 2025, we gave out $41,000 in scholarships. Oh, and one other thing I'll highlight, you can see down at the bottom, age distribution within memberships, and by far our largest category of members are the 65 plus category. We see a little bit of a different picture painted here when we look at check-ins. So our highest number of check-ins are people with a Family with Two Adult pass, a Family with Two Adult membership category. And then on the right hand, you're seeing check-ins by discount group. So of our discount groups, Silver Sneakers and Renew Active One Pass by far have the most check-ins. This just gives an overview of the amount of scholarships that we give to any individual member type. So 60% financial assistance. This is to say people with high levels of assistance are in fact using the Y. They're 4.5% of our total check-ins in this snapshot, and this is a January through May of this year's snapshot. But those memberships are being used by scholarship recipients. This is kind of a fun one. It's looking at patterns of usage. So if you look at the box grid on the left, the white column is Sundays, and we're closed Sundays, so you don't see check-ins on a Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Wednesday is a high usage day for us, highest usage day for us. Contributing factors to that would be drop-in basketball, a very popular program. Lots of people in the building on Wednesdays, as well as it being a water fitness day. We have a lot of passionate water fitness participants. And then also during the school year, we also see dance check-ins on that night. Periods of the day when we see peak check-ins, that's the graph down on the lower right. So we see an uptick in that kind of 8 to 9 period of the morning, and then again in the afternoon, and then tapering off significantly as we get towards the dinner hours. So in the winter, we're open till 8. In the summer, we're open until 7, but we're seeing a drop in check-ins even before that closing marker. And then, probably not surprising, a small uptick in usage in the muddy season when nothing outside is doable. I decided to look at our visitor data more anecdotally rather than as a graph. So we see a pretty incredible range of visitors from both around the state but also around the country. So we see people checking in from Texas. We hosted a family, I've seen them a couple times this week, family of 4 from Muncie, Indiana. I was very thrilled to see when we check IDs of visitors. I had a family from Poposky, which is this tiny little farm community. I'm not even sure if there's a center of town in Poposky, but it's over by Bemidji. And she was thrilled that I knew where the heck Poposky was. I was thrilled to see that we had check-ins from Poposky. And the ways we see sort of non-member check-ins are, we have day pass agreements with a number of local businesses, so lodgings, places like that will underwrite day passes and just give paper passes to their folks. Walk-in day pass sales, of course. We have a number of long-distance hikers who will come in for showers. So I met a woman last week who was doing the North Country Trail, which one runs from Vermont to North Dakota, I think, and she was doing her second stretch this summer and was very happy to have a shower. Another woman a couple weeks ago who had inadvertently hiked, I can't remember if it was the whole SHT or the whole border route trail. She kind of just went out and then was like, well, I've started, I guess I'll finish. And she was like, ooh, that was a little longer than I realized. But she was also ready for a shower. Of course, we have our free Fridays for community members who are not otherwise members. We also do short-term memberships for seasonal workers, most of those being J1 visa holders working in the community. But they have memberships as well. And then, like I said, drop-in basketball, very popular night. We've also started offering drop-in volleyball this summer. That's open to all ages, but it's primarily used by youth volleyball players in the community trying to get some extra time in. And then we also have hosted school group visits, not only from local school groups, but also school groups, as well as some church groups who will be coming up the next couple of weeks from the Twin Cities and from Wisconsin. We have a number of ways in which we serve the community with childcare. So we have a childcare program for kids birth to 5. We have served 38 children in that program since last summer. So that does not mean that we have had 38 children all at one time, but rather that 38 total in that time period. We offer after-school care, and this past year we served 24 individual children in that program. And then last summer, we served a total of 76 kids in our day camp program. We do our best to meet community needs. We think of that as a critical part of our role and responsibility. And the Y, many people think of the Y as sort of a gym and swim location, but really our mission is broader than that. And I think you can see that reflected here in our efforts at meeting community needs. So we have a free snack program. Anyone off the street can walk in the front door and grab a snack. We also offer we offer free snacks for kids in our after-school program. Those are both grant-funded programs. We provide youth scholarships across program types, so dance, jujitsu, cheer, as well as memberships. And then, like I said, offering drop-in volleyball this summer. Pickleball, during the fall through spring, we host pickleball a number of times throughout the week. We have some good collaborations with the Tennis and Pickleball Association. We have tried to understand sort of how we can, as a second-tier organization, support the fact that so much of our economy runs on tourism. So one of the things we do, which both supports water safety, but as well as some of our more tourist-driven industries, is using our pool to host lifeguard trainings for summer camps and wilderness water safety trainings for guides working in the area in the summer. Every April, we host an annual Kids Day event. We doubled our number of participants this April compared to last April. We had people who were still felting stuffed animals as we were closing down the event. So we had a great turnout this year. Lots of community agencies come in to offer activities and support that event. And I'm looking forward to that next year. This is the second year that we have offered a free mini camp session at Camp Miller for Cook County youth who have just finished 4th grade. All Cook County youth, of course, are welcome to attend Camp Miller, but this is the second year of this subsidized program. Part of the rationale for having a week when 4th graders from Cook County can be together at Camp Miller is because that's just before the age when we start merging kids into middle school from, all of the various elementary schools in the community. So it's a chance for them to get to know each other outside of, well, you're in this school and you're in this school and you're in this school. So that was part of the rationale there. Of course, we partner with the school district, ISD 166. We host their after-school athletics during the school year. This summer, because of their construction projects, we've done extra hosting, so volleyball and basketball practices will be taking place at the Y once their gyms are shut down. We regularly host ECFE, Early Childhood Family Education groups throughout the year, both on the playground and in the gym. And then we also serve as a summer rain play space for Sawtooth Preschool as well as the summer school program. And those are things that we're sort of pivoting in the moment. The schedule says open gym, it's pouring rain, summer school kids need a half-hour break and can't get outside. We pivot and let them come over and have the gym so they can run around, stretch their legs, and be ready to learn again when they go back inside. And just a quick overview of the kinds of programs we offer. Depending on what any one of us might do at the Y, it may not be obvious all the other things that are happening at the Y, but of course we have dance, cheer, jujitsu, swim lessons, group fitness. We have a master's swim group on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, gymnastics. We got a lot of new equipment this year. So late fall, we got a new Peloton bike, very exciting, but also some upgraded equipment, which we're excited about and members have been excited about. One thing I really want to highlight is our food shelf table. So that was intended to be temporary, and we were about to phase it out earlier this winter, and that was right around the time that the county needed to close down their pop-up food shelf, and that was right around the time that Ruby's Pantry suddenly stopped operating. So we recognized that there was a need to have some sort of space, and we're able to offer an easy access facility with a little more hours than maybe other businesses might have. And so we've continued to offer that food shelf table space right in our front lobby. Anyone can come and access it. It is supported by donations, but we also just recently, through the Y, received a $2,000 grant that we'll use to add additional food to the table. We are just now piloting a program working together with Karen of the Cook County Veteran Services Department, so she's a Veteran Services Officer, and we'll be funding some discounted memberships. It'll be free to veterans going through this program. And we're really excited about that. The Legion is supporting it with funding. We're underwriting the cost of those memberships to subsidize them as well. We have 67 staff and they range in 18 from 16 to 81 years old. I think that's incredible. The Y doesn't function without these amazing people. And I will say that staffing is our Achilles heel, right? When we talk about wanting to add more hours, wanting to offer more programs, that is a significant challenge. These people really are the glue that make that organization function, and we are so grateful for them. We have had lifeguard positions posted since I arrived in January, and we have had one application. One, and we've reconfigured the post, we've reconfigured the position, we've played with all the variables we think we can play with. So we really, in order to continue to offer the services we want to offer, we continue to have to engage as a community in how on earth we staff these great programs that we offer. This is just an overview of grants we've been awarded in 25 and 26. This, of course, varies from year to year. We might get grants from, an organization for one thing one year and from the same organization for something else the following year. Really just depends on the year, but this is just a quick glance at that. Some things we are working on. We're really excited to have begun a collaboration with North Shore Health's physical therapy department to offer some safe weight training and overall health and wellness workshops throughout the year for youth. The starting impetus was young weightlifters, teen weightlifters, but we've met with their folks and we're all very excited to be seeing that coming down the pike. We are accredited by an organization called Presidium. That's all Ys in the country are accredited by Presidium. Their primary focus is prevention of child abuse and specifically child sexual abuse. So we have been phasing in some of their newer age guidelines, so we'll have that in terms of supervision of youth. We'll have that fully in place this year. We are working to expand our weekend hours beginning in the fall. Again, a piece of that comes down to staffing, but we see the need, we have the desire, and we're working on how we might be able to make that happen. We are adding more parents' nights out, so those are periodic drop-in care nights for parents, and they can be off-site during those nights. We provide dinner for kids and activities. One of the events that we paired Parents' Night Out with this year was the fundraiser, the EATS fundraiser at the school district, right? So parents could drop off kids and enjoy that, which it's not an event designed for children particularly. So we're trying to think more strategically about what are the kinds of events in the community that parents would benefit from, and therefore a Parents' Night Out would be helpful. We're hoping to add back in some drop-in childcare hours so people can drop off kids and work out for an hour or two. That's a service we haven't had for a while. We'd like to get back to that. We are adding youth sessions of jiu-jitsu. It's a very popular offering. And we are working with the school district to trial offering after-school care for preschool children. So we offer it for K through 5 children right now, and we're hoping to expand that to preschool age children. How that's handled and licensed is a little different than school-age care, so it takes a different approach. You've been provided with the budget, and there is the structure of the YUSA. That is what I have today. Any questions?
Thank you. This is great updating.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Commissioner White.
I have a whole list. You talked about these scholarships and helping to defray the cost on a number of opportunities. Who's paying for that? The taxpayer? Is this coming from the county? Or?
No, these are Y subsidized programs. So we have a financial assistance application. People fill it out. It's based on household income, and then the Y as an organization is providing that.
So the greater organization, not just the local. Okay. For parents, drop-in night or whatever is there a fee for all of this?
That's a good question, and I don't remember. I want to say there's maybe a $5 fee. I can't remember. I can find that out.
Okay. I don't know. I can't read my writing. Are there fees for drop-in basketball?
It's free for members, and it's $3.50 for community members who don't have a membership.
Okay, and if students want to participate in a class like jiu-jitsu, and they are not Y members, can they participate?
Yes, all of our programs are open to community members. There's a price differential between members and non-members, and those programs are also scholarship eligible. People can apply for program scholarships.
Okay, when the camps send their staff down here for water training, are they charged a fee?
Yes.
Okay. Your staff, do they get benefits? And I'm sure they get workman's comp, but are they
full-time
hourly with benefits?
Full-time staff get benefits. Part-time staff, and yes, workers' comp, I think that's required by law. Yeah, we have that for sure. And all staff are eligible for a membership, free family membership for their household.
I thought I had more questions,
I
but
think that's
it.
my phone, which I thought was off. Let me just.
That makes sense.
I didn't even hear that.
It is time to offer someone a bathroom break. Sorry about that. We'll do it all. Okay, excuse me.
Oh, I know, I have one more question. You just recently changed your license for daycare,
We haven't yet, actually. We're in the process, but it hasn't changed yet.
and the reason for that is?
It gives us, if the change goes through, it gives us more flexibility to mix across ages and have a smaller, more compact program with more compact staffing.
So it's a staffing issue.
Yeah, staffing has been very challenging in childcare. Mhm. And we don't have the demand that we've had at our peak usage of childcare. Yeah.
Now I think.
Commissioner Gamble?
Go ahead.
If Dip's done.
I'm done,
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam
Quick.
Chair.
quickly.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's informative. I would say in the time that I've had interaction with the Y, that this probably has been the broadest of the overviews. My fellow commissioners could speak to the issue, whether there's been something with as much detail. I think it would be beneficial to show in dollars realistically the value that is contributed. When we ask entities that come and ask for taxpayer dollars to demonstrate what their value is to the community, that to present an honest, realistic, when we look at subsidy, when we look at various programs that are meeting needs that exist that aren't dependent on dollars, but there's a value associated with it, it'd be good to represent that.
Sure, thank you.
The question, I think you reflected in your presentation that 38 youth are participating in childcare.
Over the last 12 months, yeah.
Yeah, and this childcare issue is an issue that we've been addressing as leaders within the county, and it's an ongoing discussion throughout the state. When we look at the provisions that are in place for childcare within our county, we want to assess who the providers are and the programs that are available, the costs associated with those programs. And I know when the Y began that childcare was a focus, and some of the private enterprises were concerned about that. At this point, because of the funding through the county and the funding that we have in place to subsidize childcare, that I think stepping back in this evaluation is finding out, and the change that's happened in the legislature relative to schools that affects childcare, that an assessment of this should be done and show which providers are available that might be most cost-effective. And so when you say that if we were to look at the total number of potential youth that parents require childcare for, and what percentage the It's just something I know that has vacillated, but sometimes the YMCA as a whole, as an organization, has done an excellent job in that regard in different communities, and so it's part of this assessment. We need to look at
Sure, yeah.
what's the Y doing, and what could they maybe do that would alleviate some of the pressure that we find in this area.
Sure,
anyway.
yeah.
So, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Any
have
other
more questions,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner
Okay.
White.
They're not negative, they're just curious. Amanda, you said about, does the school still offer programming for 3- and 4-year-olds during the course of the school day, educational programs?
Does ISD 166?
Yes.
Yes, they have a preschool program.
And then do they offer after-school?
We offer the after-school care.
And that's the
yeah.
place where you're having a problem? Or is that?
No,
did I hear right?
after-school care is well-staffed, and that's a well-coordinated effort. We're looking to expand into preschool age after-school care, which would also be a collaborative effort with the school district. Where we're having the most difficulty is childcare, birth to 5,
And so if our.
with staffing.
If we have children in this county, birth through 5, Head Start is up in Grand Portage. Do those kids travel to Grand Portage? For
Do-
Head Start? No. This is a more basic, Cook County. Do kids from Cook County, if parents want them enrolled in Head Start, are they allowed to participate in Head Start up in Grand Portage? This might
I
not
don't
be
know.
something you have, I just thought this one up.
Yep.
It was a curiosity.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume Head Start would be available. I don't know how it's geographically bound, but.
Okay.
Administrator Treble?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Commissioner White, we can get an answer for that to you. I just sent a message to Grace Gernander, so we'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you, Amanda, for your presentation. It was incredibly helpful. I also understand in the past, this has been a presentation where it has been a collaboration with the Y in the county. And so I did gather some information as well. I wanted to, as all of you know, the facility is owned by the county, and so we're responsible for several aspects of it. And so I did ask Rowan how many tickets we've received since the beginning of the year, and we have had 38 tickets from the Y, which is about...
One for every kid.
Yeah. There you go. It's about 3% of the total tickets. So that's what our support looks like. We are constantly working collaboratively with the Y on upgrades to the facilities as well, and Brooke has a presentation later today providing some updates on facilities throughout the county. So I just wanted to share that we're very appreciative of our working relationship with the Y, and we'll continue to work to improve the facility and work with the Y on programming.
Thank you. Yeah, and I meant to say, excuse me, that we do have a plan to do a walkthrough, Kristen, Brooke, and I, in August, to kind of look at facilities more holistically, kind of across operations and facility management. And then that will prepare us for the next oversight committee, which will be in September, and we'll do a walkthrough with that group at that time. And then we do have some budget conversations on the books for ourselves in August or early September, yeah. So sorry, I meant to include those, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Another thing that would be helpful is that if we, in organizations, do this when it works well for them, that is comparables. So when we look at a Y in a rural setting like we have here, I know that we speak to the issue that we have the greatest participation of a Y in our area amongst our population. But I would venture to say that we also have the greatest amount of support per capita of a Y in a similar area. And the comparables answer those questions so that we can see how we're doing from a performance standpoint, and to make as much as possible an apples-to-apples comparison would be beneficial, because it gives us an indication of where we're at in our performance compared to otherwise. And that would be hugely beneficial. I know in doing budget for a not-for-profit organization, I would do comparables based upon a number of different criteria that I felt was a mechanism for accountability, so that I, as a director, would be able to reflect, and somebody could say, well, how come you can do this when other organizations can't do it? And I could speak to the issue, but it gave them a context to understand the comparables. So
Sure.
I think it'd be beneficial if we could do that, because it's a matter of the accountability factor and performance, and we can celebrate those things where we show that our leadership is doing a good job.
Sure. Thank you. That's a great suggestion, and I will look into that. That will probably mean tapping into data, data outside of our association, so that'll take a little more thought and figuring things out on my part.
Yeah, that's
I'll look into that.
understandable. It's just what we look at. I mean, we had a presentation this morning on alternative routes if we have a situation where 61 is closed down. And I use the analogy simply to say that when we're looking at things in different contexts, it gives us a perspective that is beneficial to the community that's investing significant dollars. So, but being
Absolutely.
patient in that process, understanding it's something else that takes time.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, comps are hard in this community. I recall that from our house buying days, how you price a house when there's nothing comparable that's
Yeah.
been sold in the last decade.
Administrator Trevor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your question, Commissioner Gamble. And that is something that came up during one of our committee meetings as well. So I think that Amanda and I can work together on trying to look through that data and come up with some comparables. And like she mentioned, we're also going to be working on the budget as we move forward. So I think those two align very nicely.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, really important for us to consider, and we'll all get a copy of your presentation, too.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to take a little bit of a break because we have some heavy-duty things ahead of us, and we want to have our brain really clear, okay? So we'll resume back about 10 o'clock.
Who's heavy duty? Rob or? Rob, oh, they're
So highways next.
They can dress you up.
Okay, we're back from our break, and the next item on our agenda is the 2025 Highway Department Annual Report. Good morning.
Good morning again.
You bet.
We're back. I am just here for moral support. Alyssa, I heard a lot from Alyssa today, so I will turn it over to her.
Hello, everybody.
Alyssa.
For those that might not know me, my name is Alyssa Stenzel, and I'm the new highway accountant since Lisa's retirement in April. Thanks for the opportunity to present a summary of the Highway Department's 2025 activities. I'm aware that I have some big shoes to fill with Lisa's retirement, so hopefully she's enjoying her first full summer at the lake while I present financial reports to you all.
Alyssa, can you pull the mic a little closer?
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
To start us off, I'll go over the staffing changes that we had in 2025. The Highway Department had 2 retirements and both positions were filled. Additionally, the department promoted an engineering tech 2 to an engineering tech supervisor position and a maintenance worker 2 to a maintenance worker 3 in anticipation of a retirement in early 26. Next, we'll review construction projects. In 2025, the Highway Department closed out 3 carryover projects and oversaw 3 construction projects, including the county's largest project to date, the Mill the Hill on the Confluent Trail. We also continued the striping project from 2024. As mentioned, the department closed out $6.7 million of 2024 projects in 2025. This included the 2 listed bridge projects on the slide here and the heated storage building at the Highway Department's Grand Marais complex. Now for 2025 construction projects, we'll start with the Tofte Park Road resurfacing. Construction of this $750,000 resurfacing project on the Tofte Park Road began in late August and included grading, bituminous surfacing, culvert replacements, and siding improvements. The main objectives of this project were to improve the poor quality base in front of the fire hall, improve the dual intersection at Sugar Beach Road, and bring the new intersection to 90 degrees with Highway 61. Work was substantially completed in early November. The Spruce Creek Bridge. Construction of this $790,000 concrete slab bridge with timber railings was completed in late August, with the final payment taking place in December. This project was funded primarily with Town Bridge and Special Town Bridge monies, with just a $10,000 local match for both construction and engineering. And you can see the new bridge pictured here. Mill the Hill and Little Devil Track River Bridge replacement. Construction of this $11.2 million contract began in May of 2025. Major components comprise construction of the bridge, a sedimentation reduction and riverbed restoration, the addition of a northbound passing lane, and the addition of a turn lane at the junction with CASA 8. Work was substantially completed in late October. There were several different funding sources that made this massive project possible, some of them being new revenue sources, such as the nearly $3 million grant from the Outdoor Heritage Fund. And you can see the video on the slide shows one of the massive beams being put in place, which is really cool to watch if anyone got the chance to do that.
Yeah. Who made the time lapse?
I think Jacob had it set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
brilliant.
thank goodness. Yeah, it's really cool. All right, and then collaborating on a multi-county striping project has enabled Cook County to save on striping costs. St. Louis County administers the project for just a $1,000 administrative fee, and we were able to stripe all of the paved county roads last year, excluding the Gunflint Trail, and you may have noticed just this past week that part of the Gunflint got striped. So, all right, moving on to our maintenance crews activities in 2025. They plowed for the last time in the spring on April 21st, and then for the first time in the fall on November 7th. That's about a week more of plowing compared to 2024. Here I've provided some info on a few maintenance-related things. We implemented road bans on March 17th, whereas that took place on March 11th in 24. So a little later in 2025, but not by much. Similarly, the first bans were lifted on May 12th compared to 24's May 6th. with all bans being lifted on June 2nd in 25 and then June 10th in 2024. In 2025, you can see we applied just over 125,000 gallons of calcium chloride at a price of $1.59.9 per gallon. You can compare that to the applied 122,763 gallons at $1.52 per gallon in 2024. We crushed 17,466 cubic yards of gravel at $8 per cubic yard in 25, and that's compared to 15,716 cubic yards of Class 1 aggregate at a cost of $8.25 per yard in 24. So that was actually one of the few things that went down in price from year to year. In 2025, we purchased 131.31 cubic yards of winter salt at $93.43 per cubic yard, and 1,500 cubic yards of sand at $56.20 per cubic yard. And that was an increase of $36,690 from 2024, which was budgeted. And while the price did increase per cubic yard, we also purchased 722 more cubic yards of material combined. The department paid for the delayed 2023 and 2024 purchases of 2 tandem axle plow trucks. However, we only paid for the chassis in 2025, not the upfitting. These were previously budgeted for, and the funds have been held in our equipment reserve, which we'll see later on in the financial statements. A GMC Sierra 3500 flatbed was purchased in 2025, with payments for the steamer setup and installation taking place in 2026. We had our final lease payment on an excavator, and you'll see that reflected on the accounts payable statement later on in the presentation as well. And finally, we have the board-approved purchase of a 2025 Caterpillar skid steer. This slide provides a brief overview of some of the more major projects and activities from our maintenance division, including, but not limited to, repairs of washouts on the Gunflint Trail, culvert replacements countywide, extensive shouldering on the Gunflint Trail and Devil Track Road. That's what you'll see pictured here and a few of the other slides as well. Replacement of 1/20th of the department's signs per our policy, along with the relocation or removal of 88 signs by our sign tech. Additionally, the mapping of aggregate resources was performed by the Minnesota DNR, with $90,000 of 2025's $100,000 cost being funded by the One Watershed, One Plan grant through Soil and Water. And that mapping project will be completed in 2026, which it actually is complete.
Can I ask a quick question while she's rolling here? Did we use our own people to use the shouldering machine, or do they come with?
No, we just rented the machine.
Okay, that was it.
Yes.
We also happened to have the MCIT people here because we had won the award, and so we got some great photos because they happened to be here while we were doing that, so that's where a lot of these come from.
A lot of good ones.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, on to financial statements. For assets, the year-end cash balance decreased by $1.25 million in 2024. This is due to several factors, most notably the additional cost on the heated storage building project and the increase in due from state aid. Accounts receivable increased by $31,098.64. Due from state aid increased by over $1.9 million. This increase is partially due to the Tofte Park Road and Milda Hill projects not being finalized in 2025. We carry those payables from state aid until project completion. As you can see, we are also receiving a large amount of special town bridge funds, which will be used on the Pine River Bridge project this summer. Allotment balance increased by $306,221.15, and our inventory reserves decreased by $37,063.80. Liabilities. The liabilities category fluctuates from year to year depending on what bills and payroll are pending at year end. Deferred revenue increased by over $1.2 million from 2024, again, partly due to a large amount of special town bridge funds that we have not spent yet. The fund balance section details allocated and unallocated reserves. A quick reminder that we are statutorily required to set aside our inventory balance from the assets statement as inventory reserves on the liabilities statement. So you'll see that listed year after year. Key components to the $646,112.39 decrease from 2024 includes the $1.5 million increase in liabilities, including that deferred revenue previously mentioned, along with the use of local project reserves for the heated storage building. The department had open construction projects at year end and will receive reimbursements on final design and construction costs as these projects are closed. The $954,000 equipment reserve includes the cost of upfitting those 2 tandem axle trucks that I mentioned that were purchased in 2023 and 24 that were delayed, and that's a cost of $277,000. It also includes the purchased but delayed 2025 tandem axle purchase of $338,000 and $200,000 to replace our outdated armor radios. So anything that we've budgeted for and even ordered but not received by the end of 2025 will be reflected in this equipment reserve amount on the statement. And with that said, the actual amount that is unallocated or can be used to purchase equipment in 26 is $139,506.10. The 2025 town road distribution includes $48,322.75 for the Highway Department's unorganized territory, or UT roads. Categorizing 55.11 miles as UT roads has provided the department with town bridge and special town bridge monies for structurally deficient bridges on those roads. The $1.6 million mentioned on the previous slides are a perfect example of why categorizing some of our roads as UT has been so beneficial for our county. We've received millions of dollars that we otherwise would not have had accessible to us. Here are our accounts payable. I wanted to mention that any long-term lease payments are now going to be included in our annual capital equipment budget, so those will be included with the rest of our capital equipment purchase reporting going forward. As previously mentioned, you'll notice that the long-term lease payables is 0 as we made our last payment on the excavator last year. This page is part of the report for stated finance, so they can see the fund balance from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. It is not required to include inventory reserves, so you'll notice that this fund balance is lower than the previous pages by that inventory reserves amount. The $2 million fund balance does include equipment reserves and local projects, however. Project reserves, I should say. The undesignated fund balance was $820,100.63 at year end. A little bit of maintenance cost information on our roads. So for our CASA roads, which are the roads numbered 1 through 23, excluding our Muni CASA roads, it had a cost of almost $13,000 per mile compared to 24's just over $11,000 per mile cost. Our CASA Muni roads had a cost of $10,930 per mile compared to 24's $8,315 per mile. County roads had a cost of $15,110.86 per mile compared to 24's $14,125.57 per mile. And lastly, our UT roads had a cost of $5,707.22 per mile compared to 24's $6,766.06 per mile.
What's the biggest factor in the changes there?
And actually this slide has a little bit more detail. It breaks down what it is a bit more.
Thank you.
A lot of it just comes down to how much we're plowing and putting salt down and the material associated with that. And then also if we're adding gravel or grading. So
Plowing and grading?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So like I said, this slide provides additional detail on those maintenance costs from the previous slide. As usual, snow removal is the highest category across most of our road programs. UT roads have a higher cost in smoothing surface, which is grading typically, and brush weed control, which is typical for this road category. You see that every year. In 2025, we were either in design, construction, or final payment stages of 6 state aid projects, 3 muni state aid projects, 5 county road projects, 8 bridge projects, the highway storage building project, and the Little Devil Track River sedimentation project, which that was part of the Milva Hill contract. A reminder that this list does also include those 2024 projects that didn't get closed out until 2025. Budget. The 2026 construction budget includes quite a few projects, including the Arrowhead Trail improvements and Otis Creek culvert replacement, Chicago Bay Road resurfacing, reclamation and paving of a portion of the North Road, Pine River Bridge replacement up on the North Arrowhead Trail, Gunflint Trail, multi-use trail, and between the 92s resurfacing and culvert replacements on the Gunflint Trail. Several of these will be starting within the next week or so, so be on the lookout for work taking place in these areas soon. You might have already noticed that as you're coming into town from the trail, they started on the multi-use trail project.
Yep.
And then, again, the Arrowhead Trail and Chicago Bay Road projects were delayed projects from 2025 that are happening this year. And last but not least, I'm going to keep Lisa's tradition alive by ending with some highway humor. So here's a photo of just a fairly vague sign, knowing that they're going to have to close the bridge, but they really didn't want to nail down a day. So good luck to all of the drivers out there. And as always, a full copy of our annual report is available under the Highway Department documents on the county webpage. And thank you all so much for your time. We can now open the floor to questions.
Thank you for the great detailed report and carrying the humor on. Appreciate it. Questions or comments? Commissioner Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the report. Highway Department has good people in the accounting department. We've seen consistently over the years that the reports are very thorough and appreciate the detail and the command of the subject, and his moral support must work. So, yeah. I was going to ask a question, but I thought maybe I should ask it offline, and that is, with all that you're tasked for in the department and the change of personnel and different things like that, what is it that you find the most challenging when you go home at night and think about your department and the things you're dealing with? So I didn't know if you wanted to respond publicly to that as highway humor.
No, that's fair. The things that keep me up at night, that's the question. A lot of it it can even be the presentation we had this morning about the resiliency of our network. It's infinite work and very limited resources. And so that's where, having staff and having fantastic staff being able to handle the day-to-day activities of our department. You can see we do a lot of work spread all throughout the county, and a lot of it isn't just related to county roads. You can talk about our subordinate district program, that is its own ongoing thing, and a myriad of other things that is related to highways. But no, I think the things that keep me up at night is just what's going to happen tomorrow. Canadian wildfires, and how does that relate to our network? I already got some phone calls the other day from some folks in St. Paul that we had met during our lobbying efforts that said, hey, I'm actually coming into the Boundary Waters and everything's closed. Is this actually something I should be concerned about? Because we spent months telling St. Paul this is a thing, and now they're living it and seeing it. So I would just say, yeah, the infinite work, the limited resources, but that's just the job. And again, I think it's a testament, though, to my staff and you all and the support that we have here in order to do all of it. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Go team.
Go team. There we go.
Commissioner White?
Could you please explain, you went over this at the Highway Department, the need for continued, because you have new personnel without life experience behind the wheel of a grader, the importance of not just on-site, in-equipment training, and where are the different, how much are you making use of those opportunities, and who are the entities that offer? Because I believe that it costs money to train people up. But if you don't train people up, it's like not training your puppy. It will never work as well as it should. So I want people to understand the importance and the value of spending money to teach people how to do the job right.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to frame it. You look at it like anything else too. You spend a little bit up front to then get long-term success. And so, yeah, lately over the last few years, and I think this is a testament to our maintenance superintendent, Matt Nessheim, spends a lot of time looking at different trainings across the state. So whether it's, opportunities through the U of M, they do like a snowplow simulator. And so virtual reality snow plowing, mixed results on that one, I guess. But then there are opportunities too for like grader school, for heavy equipment training, and those are just spread throughout the state. And what we do is just try and send people when we can. There's never an ideal time. Obviously, we would rather have everybody on the roads here, but that training is important, to the slide you saw earlier in Alyssa's presentation. We have people leaving with decades of experience. In the last few years, we've lost, probably close to 80 years worth of, behind the sticks experience. And now we're not starting over, but you notice it, you're missing it. But I think, the training opportunities that are out there are really important for us to hit. And then also just being willing we have to be more patient. With our staff and with the skills that we have available to us. It might take grading a road more than once, or a ditching project might take a little bit longer, but that's just because we're trying to, get everybody trained up, and we want people to do it right, to your point, and that takes time.
And I think it was interesting because talking about having more initial oversight and going out there with a big level and measuring what is the crown you're shooting for 4% and an operator comes in at 2. Well, now it's actual numbers to work off of.
Yes.
So,
and when you can show it in real time like that, when you're out there with somebody, it takes more time on our end. But again, it's that, like you had said, the training up front is so important, and it's going to take more time. But, what we're hoping for is we make that investment up front, that then, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we have the same people in those positions, that now we're not out there as much. Now we're back to kind of where we had been, we have experience. Yeah.
and for those that don't know, because we have some new people in the county, could you explain the value of having a crown on your gravel road and what it is?
Sure. Water is the enemy there. That of any road infrastructure system. We want it off the road. We want it into the ditch. And so a crown is when you're driving and you see a point generally in the middle of the road. That's the high point, and we want the water to run off the road to the edges. So or the other way to think about it is NASCAR. Everyone's turning left and you get the super elevation in the road. That's another way to think about it as well. There you go.
I need a little clarification on the final work of the Tofte Park Road.
Yeah.
So was understanding you were coming back to do some cleanup or something. Has that been done?
I can double check with our engineering supervisor and see. My recollection is, since we just approved the final payment this morning, is that we're all done.
Okay.
But I'll double check and get back to you.
There were so many people there on the 4th, I couldn't really look and see
Oh.
if there had been anything really mopped up.
Yeah, I'll talk to him once we leave.
We gotta clean up from the 4th now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you both, Alyssa and for your report, and looks like you're fitting in quite well, and talk about training, huh? Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for all your work.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
talk about maintenance. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
One more.
I forgot.
This Forest Service.
This will go super duper quick, I hope.
Yeah.
So in front of you, and I even memorized it. I don't even need my computer. But yeah, in front, it's a Cook County Forest Service. It's a road agreement. You might ask why do we need this? I talk a lot about, on the surface it reads like we're maintaining Forest Service roads. That's not what this is. What it is it's very similar to an agreement that we have with the DNR. It's a mechanism that allows us to work on them, and it helps also the Forest Service supply us then with material or with resources in the event of an emergency. And so I think a really good example is, if you remember, is it 1 or 2 years ago, Ball Club Road there, we have a tower north of the grade and Ball Club right there, and so that access had washed out. It's not the tower road, but part of Ball Club Road had washed out, and so the Forest Service had given us a call. It was actually a lot more hoops to jump through because we didn't have this type of agreement in place. And so it's things like that where they could potentially supply materials, so like gravel, and then we go up there and fix it. And so that's the extent of what this is. If you read through the agreement, you'll also see, you know, there's provisions in there that say, like, we're not beholden to do it. We can say, nope, we can't, we're too busy. So all it is just an easier way for us to kind of help together in those types of situations, so.
And now I have another question.
Yes.
Do we get compensated money-wise?
It would depend. And so that's the point is, you know, this agreement, like I had said, would allow the Forest Service to like supply gravel. We would supply, you know, staff and equipment. To me, that's I'm fine with that. And again, it's not routine maintenance. This is like emergency situations. Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just know the importance of this. The Ball Club Road washing out last year, people couldn't get to the boat landing, we couldn't get to the tower, there were all kinds of issues. This is the type of agreement that we need. Really important. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 5-year U.S. Forest Service Cooperative Forest Road Agreement.
Support?
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, Brooke, you're going to fill us in on projects and upcoming projects.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, just go through a couple of quick updates. Transfer station, of course, Tofte and Hoveland's open. They just completed the punch list on the Marais transfer station. About 100+ items were identified on the punch list, and contractors are currently working on their individual punch lists. They've been distributed, they're working on it. I talked to Dustin this morning, and they're still looking at last week of July, first week of August, for them to start operations and let the public into the new transfer station. They're gonna give it a test run themselves with the equipment before the public gets a chance to get in there. But it looks like one of those 2 weeks, they're gonna open it up to the public. Any questions on the transfer station project? Nope, we're good? All right. Move on to the LEC. We had kind of a first major hurdle in the construction was that last week of June, first week of July, we did the transformer replacement. And that was, we didn't have redundancy on electricity, and we ran on our old generator for those 3 days. And that went really well. Electrical contractor performed wonderfully and completed it in a little over 2 days instead of the full 4 that they had scheduled. So that went well. The roofing is currently going on now. They are removing the old rock ballast on the existing building, and then we'll be getting new insulation and everything completed. They're looking at a completion date of probably the end of next week. Ceiling grid is starting tomorrow, which I'm kind of excited to see. During the design phase, they picked a ceiling grid that's a 2x2 grid that had a wood look to it, and with this office, it should be an interesting look. 9 pallets of flooring and tile are being delivered today, and so that's just a good process in moving forward. We're getting flooring on site, and tile guys are going to start tiling. We have the next kind of big electrical hurdle would be the generator replacement coming up the first week of August, and that'll be another one where we won't have any redundancy, so we'll just be on house electricity this time, and then we'll have a backup generator in the parking lot in case we were to lose house electricity. We'll have to quickly wire up, the backup generator that's on a trailer. And then as soon as that's done, we're looking at office furniture, install that next week, and then we will be doing the transfer of dispatch into a temporary space in the EOC, running dispatch out of there, and then we can start the full kind of remodel project of the existing LEC. Other than that, haven't had any major financial issues, a couple little things here or there, a little bit of soft soils that we had to do a small soil correction, a couple misses with architects on just small little items that we were able to just absorb in our contingency, and some of the other things that we've cut out of the project to create a little extra funds for us. Yes, Deb?
Questions
Oh,
or
sorry.
comments?
He gets to do it.
Commissioner White?
Moving the dispatchers to EOC for the listening public that hasn't been paying attention or looking at diagrams. The EOC that's the Emergency Operations Center. It is over the top of the Sallyport. It's a new addition. Yes, kind of.
Yeah, well, as you remember, we went to a single level.
Oh, yes.
So we don't have a second floor, which I was extremely excited about. So it's just to the north.
Yeah.
Just to the north of the existing LEC. It's the one largest,
Just to see who's
Yeah.
not.
The northeast corner of the new section.
yeah,
Okay, so
where
who's not
there will
paying
be a public
attention? It's
entrance,
me.
yeah.
So I just think it's interesting for the people that are helping to pay for this, to
Yeah.
get kind of an idea.
Yeah, and that's gonna be an interesting move, just because there's so many moving pieces with Rowan's team. The dispatch, moving one desk, making sure everything works. A team from Central Square has to be flown up, because they're the only ones that can touch the 911 stuff. And then, office furniture people to take down one, move one, set up, make sure everything works, and we'll take the second one down and move it. And then we can demo the grid and the flooring and everything and get that whole area completed. So we're looking at, August, hopefully we get them out of there in August, and then hopefully we're moving them back in there October, November, before the holidays, get the new dispatch furniture in place and then get them moved back in.
Thanks. Lots of motion, lots of work.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe I missed it in a previous presentation, but going to a new generator, what is the background on that?
With the addition and the new air handler on the roof, the old generator isn't sized adequately
Okay.
for the new LEC.
Yeah.
I'm working on some pricing with that too, because there is some, as I'll mention, in the community center one next, they would like to have that whole building generator run. So we're looking at, because we own it, transferring it over to the community center, and then we can have a whole house generator on the community center, so we won't have to,
Yeah.
and then that generator will be, maybe possibly moving over to the gas pumps, because they have a very small generator at the community center. And then next time we have power outages, we had issues with fuel pumps, with the plows and the deputies and state troop, everybody who uses the fuel pumps up there. So then we'd have a generator backup for the fuel pumps as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the report.
Yeah, I've got a couple more to go through. So we've got the community center then, like we spoke about the generator just now. I would have liked to bring it to the commissioner, to you guys today, but I'm still waiting on updated pricing. And that's the bond money we have sitting that we've talked about in other committees, where we're gonna do kind of a refresh in the flooring in the main room and the arena area. Acoustic tile ceiling in the arena area, added cabinetry in the main room for storage, kitchen appliances, oven, cooktop, some new stainless in the kitchen, and then the log cabin where Northern Bedrock Historic Preservation, a nonprofit out of Duluth, is going to come up and do some work on that. And that's all coming out of the CIP bond that was initially set for just the community center.
Administrator Turple.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In Brooke, my understanding is that your hope is you'll bring those bids to the next meeting for approval, correct?
Correct. I was hoping to bring it to this meeting, but I'm still waiting on updated bids. So, next meeting. Trying to get everything just all at once, so I don't have to bother you constantly.
No bother at all, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes, and then the next one I want to talk about was the Highway Department main building. This is the one we discussed in our work session. It was for the modernization of the HVAC system in the Highway Department main building. So currently I have a bid to do the engineering and design work so we can get a package out to get estimates from contractors. And that currently is at $75,980. That was from CRBPS, who did the initial assessment of all our facilities. They partnered with another engineering firm that they use regularly. And I'm going to bring that to the next one as well. I'm just working on, they have construction costs in there and some other things in there I need to get out of there. Because just in case if we don't approve to go forward, once we get the number on the cost of construction, which we're currently estimating anywhere between $500,000 and $750,000. So it's a big project. But to get those numbers, I need to have the engineering done to redo, modernize the HVAC, get rid of the oil-fired burners, get rid of the oil boilers, move to fan coil units, high efficiency condensing, propane boilers. So that's just something to kind of give you a heads up, and I kind of wanted to discuss that one a little bit with you. What you think about the almost basically $76,000 to have the engineering done and have the design work done so I can get a bid package out to see what the cost is.
Commissioner Mills?
What was the overall number was for what? The 500,000?
We're estimating, from CRBPS, we're estimating that the total project cost will be $500,000 to $750,000, which is a big range.
What's the scope, though?
The scope is complete modernization of the HVAC system.
Just HVAC?
Yeah, the HVAC and lighting, but the lighting is a small portion. But they have a lot of issues over there where they had a makeup air unit in the office area. Well, the way they used to park vehicles, that was bringing exhaust into the office area. So they demoed the controls out of it. It had pneumatic controls, so that's been sitting unusable for quite a few years, is my understanding. Well, then when you take care of that, then you have the large makeup air unit that's in the shop that they need to use. But because that oil-fired unit, if you fire that up without the makeup air unit in the office area, it overpressurizes that and then sends the fumes into the office area that direction. So now they can't use that one. So now we're just, the system has been kind of chopped up. The pneumatic controls, they used to have a building automation system of some sort with pneumatic controls. Those have all been gutted. And it's just time to get it up to grade. I mean, the ventilation was designed for gas engines instead of diesel, so the intake is at the wrong elevation that you need it for the new modern diesels they use. The welding exhaust, we'll probably have to look at some vestibules, because it'd be a code review, would also be involved in the $75,000 to bring it up to code. We don't have separation vestibules between the shop and the office area, which are also required. Some are pretty much in place. We might have to do some configuration with some of them, like Matt's office and the tools and the parts kind of office would work as vestibules, but there's just a lot of work that needs to be done if we're going to bring that up to code and get the efficiency better and get it modernized, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The different segments and spaces and vestibules, as you say, I think was
Yeah.
more of what I was expecting.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, that's good to clarify. Thank you. And yeah, I think the engineering is extremely important if we're going to get it all
Right.
right, so.
Yeah, because we're not doing, I could do the job, I could get bids myself if we were just doing part for part.
Right.
If we're doing same, but we're not going to do, you know, we're not gonna replace 50-year-old equipment with the same type of 50-year-old equipment, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
Commissioner White?
Why did you go with this firm to give the estimates, the engineering?
CRBPS?
Yes.
Because they had the scans of the building, they had seen all the equipment, and it was just the easiest way to go, you know? And we've got a lot of work going with BKV Group, and I didn't want to kind of put everything on them. I kind of want to diversify a little bit and get some pricing from somebody else.
All right.
Yeah, that's why, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, my only hesitation was just, like, that's why I was asking what scope was, just depending on how this building fits into the everything, all of our buildings plan.
Right.
But it sounds like, nope, this is staying, we just need to modernize, HVAC, maybe make vestibules, so.
Yes,
that's-
yeah. And after talking with Matt and Robbie yesterday, there might be a couple other things we might
Yeah.
add on to this larger project that they're working on right now, just so they've got an old lift that doesn't work for the big trucks they have anymore. So maybe we'd put a little small door in it, in the garage where they could just bring in their pickup trucks and light-duty trucks and put it on, like, maybe, I don't know if it's a 4-post or a 2-post, or they're kind of discussing that right now, so it might be a little added scope on that. So my hope is to be bringing this to the next commissioners meeting for approval as well, so I was just kind of hoping to get it out there, get you guys informed, and see what kind of questions you want me to get answers to.
Will we have any blueprints or plans to look at to just?
We won't
just-
have-
Not working plans, but just to give a visual of, this is where Robbie's office is now, this is where
Yeah.
these are, just a basic to help get it in our heads as to,
Yeah, I've got digital copies, so when I upload the bid from CRBPS, I can put a plan in, you know, I can put a plan in there that'll show kind of general location of a lot of the items.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. No further questions or comments? Thank you so much for bringing us up to date today.
Yep,
not
I
done
got a couple more, sorry.
Okay.
I just finished the YMCA budget numbers with Brady, and one of the big ticket items on that is the Soresco unit that handles the nanatorium has been kind of limping for a couple of years, and we're just continuing to get it to limp through. I currently have a bid for equipment on that is $377,000 with install. Install estimate, we're at $510,000. It's a lot of money. I put it on from Brady's recommendation. I put it on as a CapEx. We're currently applying for a IRRB grant that would cut it in half, but it's still a very large number. So I just kind of wanted to see what everybody thinks about how you'd like to handle that one. I mean, do we just, I've got the equipment, and then I've got A.G. O'Brien, who's doing the work on the LEC right now as the mechanical contractor, working on the install estimate, and then Holden Electric also working on their portion of the estimate. It involves a crane, you crane the old one off, it's gotta be a big crane, and then you crane the new one on, hook everything up, and that's where I'm at.
That's an air handler, HVAC for the net.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's been, plugging up, rotting away. It handles the very caustic air. The new ones are stainless steel instead of just coated regular steel. So it's, broken actuators, broken motors. I had a guy up on the roof today doing a hard reset for errors, and it shuts itself down, so.
Was this a value purchase before, do you suspect?
Yeah, when I talked to Soresco, they value engineered the DX cooling out of it, so that's why I can't dehumidify in the summer months.
Okay.
It's just a heating unit and basically a giant exhaust fan with a preheat and filters and stuff, yeah.
And the new one is the everything?
The new one's got the DX cooling and everything, yeah. The one, basically what they initially designed for that space, minus the value engineering.
Commissioner Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you mentioned that we've been sort of limping along or making it work kind of thing,
Yep,
and that is a significant number.
correct.
So I guess my response to the initial heads up is if we have options. If we basically have moved on from our option, which is trying to keep it going through patchwork, then it's something we're going to have to look at. But that would be my question. What are our options?
Well,
And I'm not expecting you to answer it right now, but
Yeah, the options I saw when I first started this was Ceresco offers a rebuild program. So I brought Ceresco up. We looked at the unit, and with the amount of deterioration of the unit itself, it is not rebuildable at this time, or just not rebuildable ever. And with the value engineering of the DX cooling, they're like, we can't add that on after the fact anyways, and that's what you really need to protect the rest of the structure from humidity and everything else we've got going on there. So it's something I'd like to do, something that needs to get done. Does it need to get done next year? I can probably limp through, it's not a problem. But it's just a big ticket item. It's, it'll be a little more expensive but just wanted to kind of put it out there.
And I would say that as we look at the budget, big picture, that I appreciate, making us aware of these things, but it is a significant number when we're bonding and looking at things that we have on the radar, then we sort of cover it and distribute that impact, but anyway, so.
Yeah.
Commissioner Mills?
Where does this unit fit into our capital improvement plan?
I was scheduled to replace a few years ago.
Ah,
Yeah, it
And
was,
then-
when they initially did the design, right now we have it on a 2026 replacement, but the old plans have it as a 2023 or 20, whatever year they complete it, they're like,
it was
needs to be replaced.
it was identified then as
Yes,
struggling.
yes,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
replaced. But as we move along, it just keeps kind of, the date
Yeah.
keeps moving on it. So it's past due.
What are our funding options for replacing?
Well, if we don't get the IRRB grant, then it's even more difficult. I mean, we're looking, so I think it all comes down to if we identify and get the grant, what the time frame is on the grant to start work. And then we can look at it from there, because then it's down to 255,000 instead of 510 as an estimate,
And we
So-
don't have bonding money we can use on
No,
this.
we didn't, no.
Right.
No, we didn't.
No,
bond
it wasn't
for that.
It's
included.
just
in
the
the bonding
LEC
money.
and the community center, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's if, I don't know, when we talk to IRRB, maybe the grant goes until 2028, 2029, and we can limp along until then. And then if we do another bonding session, we just make sure we include the funds for that at that time.
So what's the worst-case scenario if the whole system goes down?
Then the Y will be extremely upset because they have to close the pool.
Okay.
They have to close the pool until it's repaired. Anytime it goes down during the day, it's kind of a mad dash to get up there because they close down the pool when it goes out. They have to. They have to.
So when we're prioritizing allocation of dollars, it's a matter of knowing, here's the pros and the cons, and that has to be applied to everything we're looking at, so.
Right.
Right.
Administrator Trouble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Brooke, can you just talk about how frequently that's happened over the last year?
Oh, it happens on, multiple times a month. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with our terrible electricity here, where we get the little brownouts and the blackouts. So whenever that happens, we're always up there. Caleb was up there this morning, did a reset on it. Part of it fails, so then it overpressurizes the area and forces the chlorine air to go through the rest of the building. So then you just go up and do a reset on that, and it kind of kicks it back into the way it should. And
So, Madam Chair, I asked Brooke that question because he mentioned the impact on the Y, but this also has a significant impact on our staffing level as well, because we're frequently called out to assist with this.
And Madam Chair, I would, to that point, it's more work, but we're paying little by little, so it's a real cost because of the staffing issue and the inconvenience, the branding, perception by the public, of a service that you think you're getting or that you're not getting. So those costs that we're incurring right now that would go away should be part of what informs our decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Getting to the bottom now of your list?
Yeah, last one. Town halls had a nice meeting. Apologize to Ann again publicly for not getting the invite, not realizing that I didn't know Colville Town Hall was in Ann's district. So that's my huge mistake. But we had a very nice meeting with Deb and some of the user groups she invited from Hovland and Town Hall, and we identified some things we wanted to address, and it aligned very well with what we talked about at the work session for the town halls. Check out the electrical. New pit toilet at Colville, because they have just an existing outhouse right now, and there might be some funds available through Soil and Water or something that might help offset the cost on that. And painting and, just.
Handicapped accessible.
Yep, handicap accessible on both of them, so we could do some ramping from the pit toilet
To the back door.
to the back door, and then also some ramping at Hovland as well to make that more accessible. Yeah, but just checking out the electrical, need some paint, some siding repair, that type of things. All the things we discussed at the work session, they were all in agreement, were good things. Couple little minor things they'd like to see, a Wi-Fi booster, which is not a big deal and very affordable to put in. We can do it ourselves, so.
And no well and no septic. It's no well, septic.
Yep,
And
gonna stick
then,
the way it is.
There were 3 people there from Hovland, and Brooke has agreed to, he offered. He's going to come to Hovland to face, or to
Oh, yes, yeah.
with the people from Hovland so they can talk about, for that town hall, because it is a little different, because we have a better floor, but it's in way worse shape. But it'll be coming up in August sometime to be determined, and it's 6 to 7 or so with finger foods of nutritional value.
Yeah, some of the user groups had some questions about financially how it operates that I didn't have the answers to, so we get some information on that, and so we can let them know.
And the one thing that I brought up, like this, well, it's not happening there, but we have Celebration of Lives that happened at the Hovland Town Hall, and you can't hear. I mean, it's like when people are trying to not cry and they're talking about people that are gone. And so to have some sort of a portable, more, not expensive, but something that will help with hearing. Because the last time we were filled front to back, standing room only and out the door, and it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think there's some pretty affordable little speaker stands that have a microphone attached to it that, they're pretty compact now, and.
They even have disco balls on top.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That'd be fun. A little inappropriate for.
For
Fun.
yeah,
Maybe not.
depends on
Depends on the.
individual.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just thinking about microphone, as we've presented at both the Hovland Town Hall and Colville, one thing that we really need, and we used to borrow it from the county attorney, former county attorney, is having a computer, a screen, and some type of microphone. maybe it would be something that can travel from place to place, but it is very, very difficult to present in those spaces. So it might be something that we work on, and that we have a package that commissioners or anybody presenting, any of our directors that are going to those sites could take with them for a presentation.
They make pretty sweet projectors now, little
Yep.
high definition.
I think that's it for me.
I do have something to say, though. I, as if anyone cares, he should, was most pleased with his presentation. He listened really well. Here's a performance review. But he was really well received by the people from Colville and Hoveland, and they had really good conversations. And it wasn't big things, but he was able to add information that we didn't know. So he gets a little star on that one. But as he knows, I'm watching.
Stars fall, you know?
Oh, yeah. But there was a comment made by a person in attendance, and they said, how did we get him here? We have asked for years to get somebody to come and talk to us, and nobody has come. And they really, I mean, just.
So you get a star too.
I don't get a star. They
Yeah,
didn't
well, the
feed
one
me,
who set
though.
it up, I mean,
I just.
Arvis kind of initiated everything, and then she had a medical emergency, so she couldn't
I
make it.
haven't heard from her since, so I don't know where she is. So, yeah.
Sounds like good communication.
It was really good communications. One for the
Okay.
team.
Madam Chair, so just to add to that, I also just want to.
Oh, that's right, you showed up.
Oh, no, I wasn't there for that one.
Oh, you
But-
were there for the highway.
For the highway, yes. I don't get a star.
No, you don't. There was observation when she came to the highway town hall thing. Someone said, who's the person that's all dressed up down there? Is it the administrator?
I was a little overdressed for the occasion. But I wanted to thank Brooke for his work on our two large construction projects. You heard the details that go into those projects, and he has managed these seamlessly. Dustin Hanson as well of North Shore Waste has done an excellent job with the transfer station. But I just want to acknowledge that and thank Brooke for his work on that.
And now he goes for a bigger hat.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll move on to assessor, property tax abatements. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So I have 5 abatements before you today. There's 3 of them at the Caribou Highland Townhomes in Lutzen. There was a fire back in March. The fire was determined to be a accidental fireplace fire. So those 3 are pretty straightforward. We will be abating. The property was unusable for, I guess, 9 of the 12 months. So we will abate those 9 months for the current year taxes, as well as following year taxes. The value will be adjusted. We don't know what that amount is yet, but that just alters the 2026 value. And then we have an abatement here for a clerical error. This is for a Cook County employee. Went through the record and noticed that there was a septic and well on the property record. This is in town, that's on city utilities, so when we enter in a site value, we can, we typically start with, we have a template that we put in a full site, that's a driveway, well, and septic. The the well and septic should have been removed, it should have just been a driveway. I know across the street on Fifth, there is a property that's on well water, but city sewer, so it is kind of a unique area. That may be how it came to be, but that one would be for the current and 2 prior years. That's all we can abate. So that one, amounts to just under 15, it's about $1,400 abatement. And then the last one is a hardship abatement. This one, we had a mobile home on the property. I believe there was somebody actually living in it up to some point, but it is unlivable, and I think it has been removed from the property now, but they wanted that removed from the record for the current and prior year taxes, and they did show that there was a hardship that would have prevented the person from appealing that valuation for the current and prior year taxes. So The total for all 5 abatements is $6,316. I don't know if there are any questions. I can certainly answer them. Both Auditor Powers and I have reviewed these and approved and signed off for the board to review.
Okay. Questions or comments? Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the information and the thoroughness of it. How does this process work? I mean, if the clerical was an internal review or somebody from the outside that reviewed, but just understanding so that the public is aware when you have a situation that comes up and you want to challenge it, how this is different from our assessment process when we have the public meeting.
Yes, thanks, Commissioner Gamble. So our abatement policy is written out, it's modeled after state statute that we can abate current and 2 prior year taxes when there is a clerical error, but not for an error based on the judgment of the assessor's office. So, if the assessor's office came and thought that the basement was finished because there were blinds or curtains in the lower level, and say they were assuming the basement was finished, added that to the record, and then say 4 years down the road, somebody says, wait a minute, my basement isn't finished. That would not be eligible for an abatement because it's not a clerical error. This is why it's important that people are reviewing their valuation notices every year so that something doesn't get too far down the road and, our hands are tied after the Board of Appeal and Equalization unless it comes down to a clerical type error, like this being entered in as a full site rather than a driveway site value. I can give you an example. In another county, there was a silo that was being valued. I think they put the decimal in the wrong spot. So, rather than valuing it as a single silo, say for $1 million, it was valued as like a 10,000 square foot silo and each square foot at $1 million. That made it through the valuation notice and the TNT notice, and it got that they received their tax statement. And when they had to abate that, the county's levy was short millions of dollars. So that's an example of a clerical error that, becomes obvious. This was just a transposed number, a decimal in the wrong place. Similar to like this site improvement, it was put onto the record incorrectly, and it was just a matter of when the data entry was done, a step was missed.
That's good information, and it shows that there is recourse for individuals who feel that something is wrong, and it's administered within the context of the provision of the rule of law, which is also another important factor. But appreciate the good work on this. Thank you. Don't like to see the revenue, but at least it's not millions. Yeah.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to make a motion to approve the 3 disaster abatements, the clerical error abatement, and the hardship abatement presented.
Support.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you on
Thank you.
that. Next item, I'll turn over to Attorney Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request from my office. This originally came before the board back in September 2025. As I recall, actually the benefited landowner of this utilities easement, it was his birthday. But the board approved by motion granting this utilities easement, and I must have been so excited about his birthday that I neglected to request that it be approved by resolution. The resolution was originally included in the packet, and it's not required, but it does make for a neater package to submit to the recorder's office so that everything is clean and concise as a matter of record. So the request before the board is to approve by resolution what was previously approved by motion back in September 23, 2025.
Any comments or questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve by resolution. The action we took on September 23rd, 2025, approving for good and valuable consideration and the mutual covenants, terms, and conditions set forth in the agreement, the receipt and sufficiency of which hereby acknowledged grantor hereby approves grant to grantee along with its legal representative successors and assigns a perpetual, non-exclusive 15-foot wide underground easement for utility purposes, fiber optic, and a 40-foot wide overhead easement for utility purposes, electric for utility purposes, fiber optic, and power line reconstruction and ongoing maintenance and repair over, under, and across the easement area located on state property pursuant and subject to all conditions as set forth in that certain utility easement agreement.
Support. That was a lot easier to say.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Attorney Peterson. Okay, moving on to the auditor area. Airport bids.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the board approved bids at the previous meeting, June 23rd, with Northland Constructors being determined to be the low bid at that time, but RSNH did some further checking and checked with Northland, and they'd made an error in their bid. They underbid one line item by $6,200. So in correcting that, the low bid then became KGM. So they're asking to correct that. KGM is actually the lowest bidder on the project. It was a $10,000 line item. It was pretty standard, basic utility search. They weren't going to do it for the amount that they placed on the original bid. The anomaly in this is that each of them, they bid different things, higher and lower, and it turns out that KGM will actually come out better by $4,000 of local cost because of the items they bid, and the state and federal government will pay an additional because of the items, the way they were differently bid. So we benefit in that regard.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Sullivan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the low bid of $1,443,788 from KGM Contractors for the Taxilane reconstruction project at our airport.
Support?
Any further questions or comments? Commissioner Mills?
Do we have to retract the previous award or anything?
I wouldn't think so. They're all aware of it. This is I'm not even sure that you are required to make
do this?
Yeah, I'm not even 100% certain, but that's been our practice.
Yeah.
And I think this corrects it.
Okay.
I think it probably is assumed by motion that this would.
This one is the real one.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Moving on now to administrator updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it is all right with the board, I would like to start with my updates and then move to the correspondence with Grand Portage because I do need to step away around 12 o'clock for an emergency meeting. Okay, so to update on what we're doing related to the fires, you heard the update from our Forest Service Department. I also want to make sure that you're all aware that we are issuing press releases as we have more information. We're making sure that we're posting information on the Sheriff's Office page, our Cook County page, as well as our Public Health page. It's probably gone out while I've been sitting here, but we have been working on some health preparedness due to the poor air quality and the smoke with public health, and so I'm hoping that is out there. If it is not, it will be shortly. So we're making sure that the community has information about the steps they need to take during this time for their health and well-being. So we have been actively working on updating information, and we are also sharing it with WTIP and other media outlets as we can. We have also added some information to our landing page on our website, and if Jana is prepared, I would ask that she pull that up so I can just show the community and show you very quickly the information that is out there.
And while she's pulling it up, I'd just like to add that this was one of the questions, what is available in terms of code red, evacuation routes, how do we access this? So this is an excellent way to actually show people how to maneuver our
Thank you,
website.
Commissioner. So you can see this is our landing page, and so on the right-hand bottom corner, we have the current wildfire updates, and you just easily click on that button, and you'll see first, if you scroll down, Jana, you'll see the updated information, and so we'll be updating that as we have more information. And then if you scroll down further, there are links to a variety of different useful tools. And the first one is Know Your Zone Map. And if you'll click on that, you can put your address into this map, and it will tell you what zone you're in. So you heard from Kyle Strover this morning that we have implemented the Ready, Set, Go protocol, which is what we use for evacuations. And we do have some community members that are currently in the Ready protocol. So if we transitioned further down that protocol, we would be using code red to share information with those community members, as well as doing door-to-door evacuation notifications and boat notices as well. So I encourage everyone in the community, if you're interested in knowing the status for your location, to please use this Know Your Zone site. And Jana, if you can go back to the landing page. So that's the first link. That's okay. You were on it, but, well. There you go. Perfect. So then we're also putting information from WTIP on the site. That third link is the code red to get emergency messages. So again, please sign up for code red. This is what we use for emergency management notifications for our community members. And then we have evacuation reminders, tips for preparation, wildfire smoke readiness, information from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, information from the Forest Service, Superior National Forest updates. Watch Duty is an app that will show you the status of all of the fires in the location, the size, and other information. So that's something that is helpful to look at periodically to see the status. And then the National Weather Service updates on the Duluth Facebook page. So this should have most of the critical fire weather information that you need, but again, we'll be working to update the community as we learn more. Again, if evacuation is needed, we will be communicating that out to the public via code red and through our Facebook pages, and then also have individuals assist in notifying everyone individually at their homes of that evacuation. We are meeting daily. You heard that from Kyle Strover as well, but we're meeting internally as a team at noon today, and so we hope to have more information soon. Did I miss anything from anyone who's also been engaged in these efforts?
That's great.
Okay.
Great, yeah.
Okay, great.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Madam Chair, is it okay if I move on? Okay, so the next agenda item is related to a correspondence that I received from Grand Portage, and it's regarding the Lake Superior Poplar River Water District. And so I've received two notifications, and you'll see them in your, or two letters, and you'll see them in your packets. The first one was on April 30th, and then I responded as well. Lutzen Mountain, and we have Molly Higgins from Lutzen Mountain here as well, responded to me related to the letter, and then I received a second letter on June 11th, and I have let Grand Portage know that I would be bringing it to the board today for discussion. So just to summarize some of the information in their letter, and then I'll turn it over to Attorney Peterson. is that from their perspective, the board may be operating without statutorily required quorum and membership, which is impermissible. That was their concern raised in the first letter. In the second letter, again, the same concern, but then they outlined some actions that they would like to see the Cook County Board of Commissioners take. And the first one is engaging the district in a direct conversation about the timeline and the plan for fulfilling the multi-user, multi-purpose mission for which it was created. The second is when the district returns to the board for ratification of its pending election, exercise that ratification authority with full awareness of the governance history. The third is formally initiate a government-to-government consultation process with Grand Portage. And the fourth is if the enabling legislation makes it genuinely difficult for the district to fulfill its multi-user public mission, the county and the district should pursue legislative amendment rather than allowing the current situation to persist. So I summarized, I didn't read all of the content that they provided, but just summarized the two letters. And with that, I will turn it over to Attorney Peterson.
Thank you. Madam Chair? Yes. Thank you. So I'm going to move backwards a little bit in time, back to the enabling law or the establishing legislation back in 2012, which is when this water district was created. I don't know why the original board was a non-conforming board. It's my understanding that the board only ever had one member. Regardless, even if the county board had appointed somewhere between 3 and 13 members, reading the elections procedure set forth in 110A, they would not have been able to, the originally appointed members would not have been able to elect successive directors because they are not subject to a current contract. So there are no, so far as I'm aware, there are no additional contracts within the district. The issue comes with Chapter 293, or the law that created this district, gives the board the authority and actually requires the board to ratify the district elections. That's not a regular obligation of the board in the other rural water districts under 110A. However, that authority is limited to ratification of the elections. There's no governing or supervisory power. There's no, I'm not aware of how the district was engaging in their work or meeting quorum requirements or anything like that, and that is because that kind of oversight is not required or authorized in the legislation. So if you look at increasing oversight from the county, if that is the goal, you could look to section or Chapter 116A, which is a public water district. And so I was contemplating whether the county could create a public water district. I don't think so. If you look back to the law from 2012, it does say in there that no person shall be obligated to purchase or be entitled to receive water from the district unless that person is a party to a contract to purchase water from and then it would be the Poplar River Water District. So there was exclusivity contemplated when this water district was created. But the lack of oversight does not mean an unwillingness to partner. And so I think if there's some way that the county can meet or partner, I see former County Attorney Hicken is here today, and if there's a willingness to meet moving forward, that might be the way to find an answer here or to find some common ground on how we move forward.
Okay. Anyone have questions, comments? Commissioner Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the information, appreciate the correspondence that we had a chance to review. I think that the points that Grand Portage are making are one that we should obviously take a look at. But I think it steps back farther than that. And that is that the original discussion with the Department of Natural Resources for water appropriation in 2012, we should understand the context in which that discussion moved forward to review the House File 1810, the enabling legislation enacted in 2012 and the follow-up appropriation in 2014 as to its intent. What was proposed to the Minnesota legislature that informed their decision to authorize $3.6 million in state general obligation bond proceeds and a second appropriation of $1.11 million to serve domestic water users, irrigation water users, and commercial stock watering and industrial users. In other words, that is in quotes in the correspondence we received. So if that intent is understood in the enabling legislation, I think that's important. And then what statutes were referenced in the enabling legislation. If there's reference to specific statutes, then obviously that would be the context in which we understand application. And my understanding that if the EDA declined to move forward to use this water source because the costs were prohibitive, we as a board addressed this issue with the sale of the golf course, now that the irrigation system is another thing that had to be addressed, and part of the ask was monies to make that happen. In the context of how that relates to this, then obviously the golf course would become a potential participant in the board as a contracted user. But we, as a governing body, need to understand, I would recommend, all of these component parts. The origination, the discussion, the direction, the proposal that enabled the legislation relative to House File 1810, and then in that context, we'd have a basis for recommending how we move forward and how we address the issues that have been brought to us by Grand Portage.
Yes.
Thank you. I thank you for that context too. I think it's important to look at the context. When you look at things like legislative intent, it may explain. I think it's curious that that back in 2012 they were contemplating these residential users and all these different groups of users, and we've ended up with only one commercial user. However, the legislative intent from a statutory interpretation perspective, you only go back to legislative intent where the wording of the statute is unclear. So it frames our discussions, but the actual interpretation of the language is confined to the language of the statute where it's clear.
Seems like there's a lot of details and a lot of innuendos and a lot of past history that has to be looked at, as you are, Attorney Peterson. Commissioner Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think moving forward, it'd be my recommendation that as Grand Portage has requested, that if we have intergovernmental relationships that affect them, that we are more mindful of that. And I think we've been working on attempting to do that so that we're inclusive in those discussions. But I would say that we should have a discussion to address the points that they've raised and to be mindful of, the history of how we've operated to this point and what we're going to do to address those issues, to be in compliance, and make sure that there's just an understanding that is clear on that and moves to establish healthy relationships and response when concerns are brought.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with Commissioner Gamble that what we're looking for is some common ground. If it's a consultation framework, regular reporting, some joint planning, but what can we and the Water District and Grand Portage do together to improve governance and strengthen consultation and advance the district towards their purpose.
We do have a lot of water needs there, from the ski hill, down to the golf course. You have homes around there, down, it's all part of the whole picture. And it's interesting that it just recently came up, so, Grand Portage initiated this, and I think we should go ahead and, as Commissioner Gamble says, move forward on some of these entities to have better clarification. Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, yeah. So, who are the current users?
The ski hill.
Just one?
Correct.
But we need 3?
Correct.
3 to 13 directors.
Yeah.
We have 2 members of Lutz and Mountain as directors.
Yeah, please come forward and, yeah.
May I ask
Yeah.
the conversation?
Please. And hi.
Hi. Hi, Commissioners. Thank you so much, Administrator Treble Halmerson, for bringing this forward and for your comments, Attorney Peterson. And hi, Brady. Good to see you all. I just wanted to add some clarification about the users of the water district's infrastructure, which the main component of that infrastructure is a 24-inch pipeline that goes from Lake Superior up all the way up the ski hill through the golf course and then up to one of our snowmaking ponds at Lutsen Mountain Ski Area. Lutsen Mountains is the sole commercial user of the pipeline, but our local fire departments also use that water for firefighting purposes. In fact, as recently as this last winter, those fires at Caribou Highlands that Assessor Smith,
Thompson.
Assessor Thompson, wow, my brain went way back with that one. That Assessor Thompson was referring to, we use the snowmaking system and the water from that pipeline to fill firefighting trucks. So, yes, the local volunteer firefighter units have also been a user. The size of our board has always been limited by the eligibility requirements for directors of the board for the water district. So the minimum requirement, as Attorney Peterson referred to, is that though they be a water user contracted with the water district for use of water. And then additionally, Chapter 110A, which is the Rural Water User District Law. The minimum requirement under 110 is that they be a contracted water user. Our enabling legislation that has been referenced by Commissioner Gamble defines different categories from which directors should be elected. That includes domestic water users, irrigation water users, commercial water users, stock water users, and industrial users. Firefighting departments or public users are not part of those categories. So despite that, as I understand it, there have been historical discussions with Lutsen Fire Department about adding a representative to our board of directors, but they respectfully declined. They're already stretched as a volunteer fire department. The bulk of the work of the board this year has been to find a connection design to connect the golf course to the pipeline. And we are hoping to add a member, as you anticipated in your conversation, and as I put in my correspondence. We're hoping to add either the EDA or the new owner for the golf course as a 3rd member. The reason there are 2 members from Lutsen Mountains is because the board, it would be a 1-member board, if not for the qualification that any commercial water user with that uses more than 50% of the water supply is entitled to a 2nd user. So at least we have 2, I guess. But we're in this position where either we have a board that's inconsistent with the law by having fewer than 3 board members because we don't have anyone else who's eligible. Or we're inconsistent with the law by voting in a member who's not eligible under the legal requirements. We hope that our correspondence with the tribe, reaching out and requesting that they let us know how they wish to be involved, whether they wish to be involved, and inviting them to be an advisory, have an advisory role if they're concerned about the limitation of treaty rights by the water district actions. We're hoping that that opens a dialogue. We're certainly willing to communicate with the board. I also am uncertain what authority the board has to get involved in the water district, but I don't have a problem with coming to the board to report what we're doing on a periodic basis.
Administrator Turnbull.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think the issue for the Board of Commissioners, is the fact that as Ms. Hickens has stated, the Water District is not in compliance with the statutory requirement for 3 members, and as you've stated, there are complications for that. Attorney Peterson and myself have been trying to determine what authority does the board have, which I think is limited. But my question, so I think that's issue number 1, but my second question that I have not been able to determine the answer for is whether the tribe is eligible as a water user under the 1854 treaty.
Yeah.
And could they be that 3rd member? And that's a piece that we have not been able to determine at this point. So in terms of next steps, I think the best next step would be the government-to-government consultation, and also engaging the water district as part of that conversation. And that's certainly something I'm willing to do on behalf of the board, is communicate to the tribe and see if they would be interested in sitting down, having a meeting to discuss this further.
Okay. Commissioner Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And having not looked at the documentation that enabled this, and then the requirement for the water district, but Molly can speak to it, because you referenced in the letter that there's a difference in the state between a water district and a rural water district. This, I'm assuming then, because of the requirement for contractors to be the only ones that can be on a water district board, that this is a rural water district that meets that requirement. And just from the public standpoint, that the distinction between a watershed district and a rural watershed district is important, because the appointments are based upon that eligibility requirement when you're talking about a rural water district. And if we were talking about a water district, then the authority of the county board is important in the administration of that process. So just that clarification. And for those of us that are coming into this without the history, in that discussion that we would have, we would want to understand all of those component things in the statute that determine, what can and cannot be done. The responsiveness to Grand Portage is an important component that we hold as a value, and the points that they raised are valid points. And so in my experience in dealing with government over the years, have said, as they have said in their response, that if we are not complying with legislation, that we should change the legislation, but we can't subjectively interpret legislation. And so this is why I think the conversation moving forward should just be sure everybody's clear, and that the points that are addressed will be addressed in that conversation.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just am appreciative that our county administrator is willing to, engage with Grand Portage. I can see from their perspective concerns about water quality, treaty-protected resources is really an important issue, and so many times they're left out of the conversation. And so I think that we can all work together to improve the relationship and to get them engaged.
So we'll look forward to Administrator Trouble working with Attorney Peterson and maybe with the representative from the Water District too. Anything else, Commissioner Mills?
Yeah, just to, I guess, follow up with the request from Grand Portage. There was 4 steps requested, and I thought they're pretty reasonable and doable. And so the first one is to engage the district in a direct conversation about its timeline and plan for fulfilling the multi-user, multi-purpose mission for which it was created and funded, including a commitment to pursue domestic water user contracts consistent with the original public purpose of the project and not merely the addition of the golf course as an irrigation user. So I'm doing that. Do you have any timeline or plan for engaging the residential or the domestic side of things?
Sure. So in the original, as Commissioner Gamble referred to, in the original funding for the water district, there was funding included for the domestic water use. And using that funding, the water district constructed a water treatment plant, partially constructed a water treatment plant. It actually sits within one of the condominium units at Caribou Highlands, the same condominium unit where the water district meets and where the offices for Lutz and Mountains are. But the water treatment plant was not completed because of construction cost overruns. Some errors made by the contractors at the time, is my understanding. So it sits. It requires additional components to be added. It probably requires that an engineer review the current components to make sure that they're still in operation. They were installed now 10 years ago. There needs to be a connection made between the pipeline and the water treatment plant. There needs to be external storage added. All of that takes money. Our current focus, as I mentioned, has been to find a connection solution for the golf course. That feels like it's coming to an end, or that we're almost there. I'm gonna be at the EDA meeting next week. And so is Mike Larson, to kind of talk about the conceptual design that we've approved. Anyway, once that project is complete and behind us, our next focus is going to be to seek funding to complete the water treatment plant. So there are some funds available through the Department of Health that I think we would pursue initially to fund a feasibility study or an engineering study to find out what needs to be added to the plant. And then we could seek other funds to finish the construction. Fortunately, the most expensive and biggest part of what the water district needs is that pipeline. The fact that it was built and that it's currently bringing up water from Lake Superior was a huge accomplishment, and really has the potential to source our needs. Lutz and Mountains needs backup drinking water. Caribou Highlands needs backup drinking water. All the current property owners and potential property owners on the Ski Hill Road could benefit. That being said, it is not the role of the water district to go out and solicit users for the water district. We are, just like the golf course did, we invite users to come to us and propose that they be connected, and then we can work with them for a connection plan that doesn't impede the other purposes of the water district. So.
Okay. Commissioner Mills?
That was I mean, a very rough timeline, but
Mhm.
it gives us the sequence and order of events, so that's really helpful. And a rough plan too, so I find that helpful. And so if, say Caribou Highlands gets hooked up, then that would be a domestic water user, or is that
Be a
still a commercial?
That would be
Okay.
a commercial, but
So
you
how do
know,
we get the domestic? Individual
I think it's
homes?
actually helpful to have commercial users that have bigger funding than a household budget to begin to fund or at least match grant funds to get that treatment plant up and going.
Mhm.
And then it should be less cost prohibitive for each sequential user after that, including domestic water users, to add into the water district. The statute chapter for rural water user districts determines how costs are to be split between water users. Essentially, the ongoing operational costs of the water district are split between users in proportion to their water use. However, the specific infrastructure that connects a water user to the water district, that needs to be funded specifically by that water user. So you can see that, like, as we had more users, it would become more affordable for more users to be added. But there's always going to be that initial outlay of expense, which is exactly what the EDA encountered back in 2012, 2013, when they realized the cost that it would take to actually hook their irrigation system into the pipeline. And since they had a more affordable solution in place at the time, they were likely obligated to go with that. The calculation may have changed now, but.
Yeah, and we'll see what the EDA board says as a whole, but I am guessing that the new owner would be much more open than the current owner of the golf course, just putting it out there. So might take a little bit longer, but that's just my guess. So thank you. It sounds like it's going to be a challenge to get the domestic side of things and a longer timeline. But I feel like we've checked off the first item on the list, and I guess there's just more to talk about, as Administrator Treble said, and then when we get to the elections too, we'll have more to do then. Thanks for being here.
Yes, and I'll just add, we did hold an election this morning. We had, actually it was before the letter from Grand Portage came to light, we had begun talking about adding another user, the golf course. And then received the letter, and we said we're going to set an election and hope that somebody will be qualified and eligible by the time of that election. We happened to set that election for July 14th at 9 a.m. Not surprisingly, nobody was nominated. Nobody nominated anybody for the ballot, nor did anyone show up to be on the ballot, but I'm glad to say we...
How many ballots were counted?
We made it. There were 0 votes.
Okay, just making sure.
0 votes. But anyway, we'll try it again.
Thank you. Commissioner Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would make the assumption, in agreeing with Commissioner Mills' comment about the present owner of the golf course, if cost is prohibitive in the beginning, when the legislation enacted the opportunity and they did not participate, I don't see them participating now. Part of the fuzziness of this is that we were under the impression as a board, when they came and asked for the funding, that it was going to make that connection possible. However, subsequently, it appeared that the cost was prohibitive, which is revisiting the first reason that they did not participate. So it's a bit convoluted, and it would seem that if the sale is moving forward with the present buyer, that individual should be part of the discussion, if it's going to be eligibility based upon contracted users.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, I think, probably because the potential future buyer can't be really in it until they are the owner, even though we want to, or maybe we can, that gets very fuzzy.
You can have a discussion.
Sure.
Of intent that it doesn't actually happen. I mean, how many times have we said this is contingent upon, or, me becoming the owner? But if you want to ask me the question, would I be interested, and as a contracted owner, because then we would be in compliance with the requirement for the board. So I think the conversation we had. But anyway.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be in compliance still, because it doesn't have non-commercial users.
No, if the golf course, is the golf course not considered a commercial?
Well,
They're an irrigation user. They're in a different category, but they would be eligible.
But would that,
If they were,
yeah.
if they had a contract for use of water from the water district, they would be eligible as an irrigation user.
And in your correspondence, you indicated that you were hopeful, at least based upon the provisions of the statute for contracted users, that the golf course would be that, and you were going to bring that to the EDA to ask them. But I'm saying that I think the EDA is going to say, no, this is cost prohibitive. And so where it's convoluted is the fact that if the new owner could bring compliance with the statute as far as participation, and they are eligible, that you can have that conversation without having to sell the property to ask the question. Anyway.
and maybe I'm misunderstanding the statute, but I didn't understand, I guess, that an irrigation user is separate than a commercial user, because I thought the statute said you needed different, or what was the?
Well, if you're drawing water from the source, that means you are a contracted user.
Right, but the statute says, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but it had different types of users, including public, community member, domestic use as one of the provisions. And I think that's one of the concerns, that is one of the concerns that Grand Portage has raised. So their concern is that right now it's just commercial users. And I'm hearing Ms. Higgins say that the golf course would be in a different category, but it still wouldn't be qualified as a domestic user.
Right.
And do we need that?
Well, the language that's in the appropriation is to serve domestic water users, irrigation water users, and commercial stock watering and industrial users. So they certainly fall within that.
Correct.
I mean, having the discussion, with all parties is important, but to whatever category, it would meet the eligibility requirement based upon that quote from the enabling language. So.
Yeah, I think Administrator Treble is hearing my concern about needing to check more boxes. It certainly qualifies, but in order for the board to be compliant, I thought it had to have more diversity in users.
Yeah, but is not, if they're not considered a commercial, but they're considered an irrigation.
Maybe that's what I was
water
wondering.
user. And that's what's come before us in asking funding for irrigation. So.
And this is where I think a conversation with Grand Portage and the water district would be helpful, because what I understand from their letter is the concern related not having domestic users and having corporations
or commercial use only, which again, it would be a different intent for the golf course. They would qualify as an irrigation, but I think the concern may still be that they're also a commercial user. So I think it would be helpful to have that conversation just to understand more what their concern is related to that.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think I misunderstood. I thought there had to be different, and maybe I was just reading into Grand Portage's letter more, but I thought there had to be, and it's helpful to know that irrigation user is a different type of user than a commercial user, which, so is interesting. But,
Commissioner, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the confusion might be that the question that I hear being answered is a commercial user also qualified as an irrigation user? And I think your question was, is that checking all three boxes? And the answer that I see in this enabling legislation is no. The original appointment was a domestic water user, period, an irrigation water user, period, and a commercial water user.
right. That's what I was
Yes.
trying to refer to.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking it up.
So everyone was correct, just answering different questions.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and so even if we get the golf course, it still doesn't address that original. And that's what I was trying to it's not going to be the answer to all of our.
It gets to the three, it just doesn't get to the different categories.
Right.
Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, in the joint discussion, if what we're saying, and the primary factor is that we're not complying with state statute relative to the requirement for the number of representatives on the district board. If the water district, as of today, said, here's an opportunity on the 14th, come in at 9 o'clock, and you want to, and you meet the requirements, you want to be on the board, that if we don't have people that are eligible, then that's why Grand Portage is saying, then you need to change the legislation because you can't operate outside of the provision of the rule of law. And if we have this discussion and we satisfy the statute requirement by having irrigation user, which is a separate entity from a commercial user, then we'd be in compliance. But does that satisfy what Grand Portage would like? They would like to see enterprise other than, or I shouldn't even say enterprise, participation by a domestic user group. So anyway, the discussion, but the important thing is to understand the context in which the discussion can take place as to the end result of that. Meaning that we've said often when we get in a discussion, it's not free form. There are statutes, there are policies and things that direct what we can and cannot do. So.
Okay. And I apologize, Madam Chair, but I need to sneak away from my meeting. But thank you.
Okay, so we are right now waiting for further details so that we can think about this. When it comes to changing legislation, we know that's a long road. So let's get all our details before that and consider another step. Okay? Thank you, Director Hicken.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
When I think about the first pipe that came up from Lake Superior and broke and totally went down to Two Harbors, I think about this particular pipe. It's been there a long time, I think at least 10 years. And I think it's substantial, so hopefully. But that was quite a nightmare when that happened. Okay, let's move on for any commissioner reports, updates on meetings? Commissioner?
Well, I'll just say that we had a Hoveland Town Hall with the maintenance director to talk about the, what did we talk about? We talked about potential improvements or changes to the town hall. It went really well, as we heard. And then we had the other one with Commissioner, with Robbie Hess talking about the upcoming projects on the end of the east end of the county. And we had the administrator, and we had 32 other people in attendance, so. And they really didn't eat anything this time. They just came in and left. But it was good. I mean, it was well received. And then, of course, it goes on with the hub. Still a dynamic group of people who are seeking some input from the commissioners, and the list of what they provide for the county just continues to grow. And I'm sure I did something else, but it eludes me at the moment. Nothing negative, though.
Good.
No negative anything happening.
Anybody else? Commissioner Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Both Commissioner White and I attended the Cook County Invasive Teams meeting.
that too? Yeah.
And an important event that they're sponsoring is coming up on July 22nd. It's the Pull, Plant, and Protect the Gunflint Trail event from 1 to 4 at the Seagull Community Center. Then Commissioner White and I also attended Highway Advisory last week and talked a little bit about grading, calcium chloride, and then a reminder to everyone there will be construction on the Gunflint Trail starting mid-August between the 92s, so just past Poplar Lake and all the way to the Iron Lake campground, to the road that goes there. That will be one lane closure at a time. There'll either be a flag person or a light that will be there, and it'll be about a 3 to 4 minute closure. People will go in one direction, very similar to the Little Devil Track River work that was done on the bridge last summer. We had a Boundary Waters Canoe Area Collaborative meeting, and just a reminder to the public, because we're all thinking about fires in the Boundary Waters, but think about the public comment for the Boundary Waters. That ends on July 22nd related to the cancellation policy, so make sure to go to the U.S. Forest Service website and register your comments. We've had over 200, and we'd like to get a couple hundred more. But again, people are focused on the fire right now, and so we're not seeing those comments all of a sudden coming in, so just a reminder. Soil and Water Conservation District met at the beginning of the month and talked a little bit about the Woodland Stewardship Plan, and there is a match that's going on for some private property in Grand Portage. So it's really nice that we're working in the reservation boundaries to help property owners there, as well as in other parts of the county. Been busy with a number of Lake and Road and Property Owners Association meetings. Last weekend, we had West Bearskin, Voyager Point, and the Mid-Trail Property Owners Associations. Did a lot of work with go bags, making sure people had checklists for items that go into those bags, and we'll be making a big push for go bag and emergency preparation, and also how to deal with wildfire smoke at the canoe races, which are tomorrow up at Gunflint Lodge from 4 until 7 p.m. We'll be up there starting about 3 o'clock. We have AIS, the Cook County Coalition of Lakes, sharing a table, and then Andrea Tofte for Public Health and I will be also sharing a table up there, and talk a little bit about emergency management, what it means to be at that ready portion. The Gunflint Trail Fire Department is encouraging residents and property owners to start their sprinklers, not only to make sure that they're operating, but run them for about an hour to kind of create a humidity dome over their property that really helps to reduce fire. But everybody up at the end of the Gunflint is on edge. It's very smoky. It's very dark, even midday. So we'll just listen to our updates from the U.S. Forest Service and emergency management here. And again, shout out to Sheriff Hallberg for the work that he has done getting us ready at this point. We also had our community leadership meeting last week. Commissioner Storley, maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
When I have my turn.
Okay. And Cook County Coalition of Lake Association has met, and they are sponsoring an informational workshop with Cook County Higher Ed. It will be this Thursday, and it is on copper nickel sulfide mining. And because it's become a political issue, we want to take the politics out of it and talk about facts. And so they've asked a mining expert to come. And so there'll be multiple presentations to learn about the process of copper nickel sulfide mining, understand impacts to our waters and the shorelands here in the Rainy River and the Lake Superior watersheds, and then talk about implications for the county. So that should be very good. That's Thursday, 12:30 to 3:30, Cook County Higher Ed. You do have to register on the County Higher Ed website for that, and it is free of charge.
Anyone else?
Well, Ann forgot that we did the subordinate district,
Yep.
subordinate governmental service district, big meeting yesterday talking about this talk. We're going to do this once a month for the next 8 months.
Right, this was our third meeting. We talked yesterday about kind of looking at costs, taxes, and fairness. Those were kind of the big themes.
Okay. Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, only thing I want to share, I think, is that the Northwoods Food Project is receiving a good number of grants to really try to bolster farmers in our community, and both to support the farmers we currently have, as well as to somehow grow our own younger farmers, maybe an internship program, or just trying to really get more people into food production. And also the Food as Medicine program at the clinic has taken off. And I made another plug for the in-home support. And it sounds like when these prescriptions are given, it's also offered, would you like help in preparing, or that sort of thing. And it was every single one of the patients said no. I know how to cook. It's just purely affording the fresh food. And so I thought that was extremely interesting and telling. But we'll see how that goes. And I think there was 10, one dropped out, so down to 9. This is just a pilot program to see how this goes. But I had a presentation at AMC about this through health insurance programs. So I think it's going to be more of a thing in the future, but we'll just see how it works here for now with this number. But so down to 9, I believe, and then 2 of them are families, and the rest are, I believe, seniors. So this, we'll see where that goes, but it's very exciting, and just all the movement and support on the farming side of things too. So.
Commissioner Gamble?
Were you going to speak to the leadership meeting?
You could.
Okay, thank you. So just for the community's awareness, that leadership is all of the entities that have leadership within our county, which is the city and the county and the hospital and the school and the HRA, the EDA. We have YMCA, so.
The tribe.
Yeah, the tribe are certainly there, and we have identified topics that we would like to address. So each time that we have this meeting, we will address the topics that we've identified. We've had child care as an issue, and this last meeting was providing for our older population. And Care Partners did a presentation, and the HRA relative to housing that is specific to an elderly population, as we provide housing in a workforce focus. We're looking at assisted living and provisions that address the demographic that is a large portion of our population. So I feel that these meetings are beneficial because of their focus, and that other than just getting together, which we have in years past, it hasn't necessarily been, when you walk away from it, as effective as you feel it can be, but you hear a lot of comments from people that participate saying, these are good meetings, I like the direction we're going, so it's good for the right hand to know what the left hand is doing. So.
It was a good meeting in regards to the place. We were at Gunflint View into their community room, which I had not seen, and before the meeting, I visited friends who moved in there, getting comments from them. They really are beautiful apartments, and so I wanted that perspective. When we were meeting during COVID, we were doing Zoom, and now we're in full participation in person. And I also have a township meeting that same evening, so I have to decide. I look at the agenda for the township and I look at the agenda for this, so I may not be at every one, but this one worked out that I could participate in. Certainly enjoyed the round table of everybody, you know, filling us all in with what's going on in their particular area. I also attended the Gitchigami Trail meeting last week, and they're moving forward with the trail into downtown Lutzen, but it's going to take a while because of cost. So probably the end of next year, or early '28, it will be to the downtown area. Whether it ever continues on to Caribou, we don't know. DNR is going to be updating the parking lot at the bottom of Ski Hill Road. Eventually, they'll put in more information, a board, latrine, picnic table, fence off the Highway 61 entrance, and only have an entrance from the ski hill, and then working with Highway Department to perhaps swing through there in the winter with their plow, because it is a parking lot for snowmobilers also. So that was good update. I also attend once in a while when I can North Shore Scenic Drive Council, and right now they're reviewing all of the potential highlights of coming up the North Shore, starting with Sugarloaf. If you've not been to Sugarloaf lately, they have a whole new exhibit, which is extraordinary, talking about how that was an area for huge logging buildings and piles of logs, and how the whole North Shore developed many thousands of years ago with interactive resources. So it's a nice stop if you have an hour or so to stop. Then we stopped and looked at the Heritage Center, and because I was on the tour, the Fish Museum was closed, but I said, hey, I'll open it up, and so they had a chance to see that. And Royside Rest, how can they be more active in helping people coming up the shore, with a possibility of some type of a little post with a emblem on it that you can hold your phone up to it, and then it'll tell you what's coming up, and Grand Marais and the Gunflint and Grand Portage and all that. So that's in the works. Okay, anything else? Then I'll move on for upcoming meetings to note. Our next board meeting is Tuesday, July 28th at 8:30 a.m. Also in our packet, we have the lodging comparable tax through April of 26 and also through May of 26. And then we'll also have recognition of our July staff anniversaries. So first of all, we have Cody Wandler, Highway Department, 2 years. Andrew Dahlstrom, Recycling Center, 4 years. Christina Matson, Public Health Human Services, 4 years. Matt Niesheim, Highway Department, 4 years. Sean Smith, Highway Department, 4 years. Plowman Demetrio, Public Health and Human Services, 8 years. Britta Moose, LEC, 9 years. Christopher Schrupp, LEC, 13 years. Then we have milestone anniversaries. Dagmar Smith, Public Health Human Services, 10 years. And our Auditor Treasurer, Brady Powers, 35 years.
Is that legal?
Congratulations to everyone, including Brady. Has time flown for you?
No.
No.
No, it really seems like a long time ago now.
See, he's so truthful.
Like when you had more hair?
Yeah. Yeah, I did have hair then.
And there being no further business, we are adjourned.
But been here a long time. My battery's running low.
Oh, God.